If you've ever had fate intervene and cause you to adopt another animal, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. It is Monday here, and we are going to start a wild week here today. It is NVDA week. We're going to have a lot of things going on this week. Remember, that $5 million market cap rule was initially supposed to take place on this week. It's on hold right now. We'll see if that causes any of the smaller cap runners to move, maybe back off a little bit. And then obviously NVIDIA on Thursday. So it's going to be a busy one here today or this week, this entire week. Will NVIDIA trade up into earnings? How will it do post earnings? All of these very good questions. I hope that you all are rested and had a wonderful weekend. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Monday edition for August 24th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, everybody. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. I know mine was incredible, but we're back for another busy week here today and this week. A lot of stuff that's going to happen, culminating with NVIDIA earnings. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Derek is first. Welcome back, Derek. It is great to see you, as always, my man. Early bird gets the worm. May you be green, and may everyone be green here today. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Jay Wild, it's always good to see you, boss. Welcome back. S.Trade from Friday worked out well. S.gapping pretty hard here in the morning in the 20 handle. So if you folks held that day trade overnight, risky, but it paid off for you here today. Good stuff, Jay. And we'll start early with a register ring. May that bring lots of other register ring luck to the group. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. EKS, good morning. Welcome back. EKS mentioning that SpaceX minus 2.3% continues to be Kathy's biggest bet. She trimmed Roblox. Seems everyone's trimming Roblox. Palantir and AMD. I actually do have a story here on Kathy coming up. So we'll get to that here shortly. Potji, good. Happy Monday to you. Happy afternoon. Good morning to everybody else. Zach McCracken, likewise, good morning and happy or good week to the Benzie gang. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Laura in Florida, good morning and welcome back. Alan, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. It's great to see you. Wiss, good morning. Wiss, thank you to your Braves yesterday for knocking off the Brewers. Needed that. Hopefully there's some more of that. Welcome back, buddy. Barb, good morning. Welcome back. Anyone else get caught in that AAOI dip Friday evening? Sheesh. I did not. I did see that they had an offering. I actually have, we're going to talk about that here a little bit. We'll see if AAOI bounces back here today. That's going to be one of the AI names, one of the optic names that has done very well for our chat here. So we'll see if we get some more trades on that here. Looking at it in the pre-market, it looks like it is kind of holding 107 to the low. It's basically trading sideways here today. So, hey, get down from there. Get down from there. Get down from there. Hang on a sec, folks. Hang on a sec, folks. Come on, you can't do this. You can't do this. Okay. Okay, terribly sorry. New animal learning the ropes here. My apologies. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. Barb's asking, is there any Anne-Marie today? No, unfortunately, there is no Anne-Marie today. Anne-Marie is on Tuesday and Thursday. I believe she's traveling this Tuesday, so I don't think we're going to get her this Tuesday either, but I'll double check and make sure. I know we want to get her back as soon as possible. Jane, good morning. Welcome back. Thank you, producer, for all you do. Bavesh, good morning. And then, yeah, producer, thank you. I know we often have Henry here on Monday. Unfortunately, no Henry today, but don't worry. We're also going to reschedule that. Look, the summer's ending, so a lot of people's schedules are kind of in flux. Remember, Tim Melvin told us last week that he wasn't going to be available this Wednesday. We're going to get him back again as well, of course. Ben, good morning. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Scott, good morning and welcome back. Daniel, good morning. Welcome back. Carmen, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Jim, good morning. Dirkus, good morning and happy Monday. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Indeed. Could not ask for much more. Eliam, good morning, welcome back. Unpopular Truth, good morning, welcome back. Carlos, good morning, welcome back. Linda, good morning and welcome back. Just passing through, good morning, welcome back. We Go Together, good morning, it's great to see you. Castle, good morning. Russ, good morning. ATL Russ, let's go. Are you a Braves fan too? I can't remember. Really, really happy with Atlanta at the moment. I just got to say, at least personally. Zach McCracken, I already said good morning, but hello again. Unpopular Truth says, yes, this must have been in reference to my opener here. I did adopt another cat, and it's Kismet. I don't know how else to describe it. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. Neville, good morning. Welcome back. Alan, it's always great to see you. Good morning, my man. Robot to Trade, good morning. Duty, good morning. Matthew, good morning. Carmen's asking, is anyone waiting cheerfully for Warsh? So we do have the Jackson Hole conference. I think that's going to be important. It comes at the end of the week here. I don't know that I would say I'm cheerfully waiting for it. I am hoping that it provides some good market movement, but we'll see. We'll see. No bets placed for that ahead of time at this time. Big Bees, good morning. But that AAOI dip is an opportunity. Good morning. Now, Big Bees, do you think that this is a continuation to the downside where we would trade short dated puts? Or do you think AAOI represents a bounce candidate today where we might have some long side trades as that bounces back? Let me know which side of that you think is going to be happening here. Nikhil, good morning. Jane, good morning. Jane says, introduce us to the new member. Well, I can't do that because I've got a lot of stuff going on and I'm limited by the size of the length of my headphone cords here. But Janie, I would not be surprised, given the personality of this animal, if she crashes the stream and introduces herself. So we'll just have to wait and see if that happens. I already had one thing here that I had to take care of. Brandon, good morning. Welcome back. Let's see. Dirkus, love cat. Yeah. Knights Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Cynthia, good morning. Welcome back. Billy, our human chat scanner, welcome back. Shawnee says, got to get a dog into the mix. This is 100% correct. I absolutely have to do that. Where I live right now has rules about that, so I can't quite do it. But in the future, that absolutely needs to happen. Okay. Kelly, what's her name? Her name is Zadie with a Z. Z-A-D-I-E, and she is absolutely adorable and loving. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures under pressure here ahead of Monday's open. A little bit mixed and maybe firming up a little bit, but S&P futures down 0.19%. The Dow futures down 0.12%. They were both trying to go a little bit higher, but they've backed off that high. So we're still slightly negative ahead of the open, and NASDAQ actually leading the way lower, down by 0.57%. It's also worth noting that oil is down 1.98%. So oil's down nearly 2% here today. In the past, we've actually seen the market respond positively to a lower oil price. So we'll see if we get that here again today. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we can expect here from today. Healthcare, materials, and financials led the advance as most S&P 500 sectors closed higher on Friday, while energy and utilities bucked the market trend to finish lower. However, all major indices recorded losses that week, with the S&P 500 falling 1.4% and the NASDAQ losing 2% in the period. Both indices ended 3-week winning streaks as well. The Dow also recorded a weekly loss of 0.9, registering back-to-back weekly losses. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Monday as the Dow Jones Indices rose while the S&P and NASDAQ fell following Friday's higher close. Again, since then, the Dow has moved into negative territory, although slightly. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf mocked U.S. economic policy, sarcastically asking if Washington plans to, quote, import frozen yields, end quote, to fix rising bond yields following President Trump's trade and foreign policy moves. Ghalibaf warned on X that, quote, a frozen foreign policy delivers a frozen economy, end quote, taking aim at recent U.S. Treasury buybacks and domestic price control measures. This week, all eyes are on Wednesday's quarterly report from NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, as the market looks to see if immense AI infrastructure demand can reignite megacap tech momentum. In addition to NVIDIA, CrowdStrike Holdings, ticker CRWD, and Marvell Technology, ticker MRVL, will hand in their results on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. Later in the week, macro attention shifts to Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh's scheduled speech on Friday at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Policy Symposium, where investors will hang on any hints regarding the Fed's long-term monetary policy framework and bond market trajectory. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.71%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.22%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets pricing a 36.9% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one's going to be Applied Optoelectronics, and this is indeed AAOI. It slipped 12.7% in the pre-market on Monday after it announced a $600 million at-the-market equity offering. The next stock on our list is going to be Kairos Pharma. The ticker is KAPA, and it fell 4.52% after it reported a 1-for-7 reverse stock split. The next stock on our list is going to be Alibaba Group. The ticker is BABA, and it fell 3.72% after the Chinese e-commerce giant announced a $10 billion share sale to fund its artificial intelligence ambitions, also sending its Hong Kong-listed shares tumbling nearly 10%. The next stock on our list is going to be Picard Medical. The ticker's PMI, and it surged 41.9% following its second quarter earnings last week, where its revenue increased 39% and net losses decreased by 16%. The final stock on our list is going to be Birkenstock Holding. The ticker is BIRK, and it gained 6.09% after it reported higher third quarter sales year on year and raised its fiscal 2026 revenue growth guidance to 15%, targeting reported revenue at the upper end of 2,300 million euro or 2.68 billion USD. All right, sorry about that. I am struggling here today, folks. It is Monday. Let's get back to Pro. Let's take a look at the SPY chart here today. And Pro is lagging. Sorry, this internet, this Chrome problem producer that we have, it is something else, man. It is absolutely affecting this. I apologize for the delay here, folks. Just give me 1 sec. All right. Let's take a look at our SPY chart and see where we are. Now, remember, we have been trading sideways. We've kind of been carving out this area. We did come back into the 20, which is great, but we're in danger of maybe losing it here today. 20-day moving average, 763.59. We'll see if that ends up holding up. We also do have that 760.28 breakout area. Remember, this is a previous all-time high breakout area. We'll see if that provides some support for us here today if we do, in fact, break that 20. Now, where we sit here with the market at least trying to firm up here in the pre-market, it is absolutely my hope that we're able to hold and at minimum close above 763.59. If we do, perhaps we can make a move back up towards the previous all-time high. The previous one that we broke actually was 776.85. The new all-time high is, of course, going to be 779.37. So we want to see if we can make a move towards those levels, but the first step is actually going to be holding the current level that we're at, and we'll see if we are successful in doing that. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here today. We have Mohammed El-Arian today. Mohammed El-Arian framed the current environment for the U.S. stock market and the economy as a battle between solid corporate performance and heavy macroeconomic volatility. He observed that equities are caught in an ongoing race between the promise of even bigger earnings from productivity-boosting tech innovations on the one hand, and the headwinds from funding needs and unresolved societal issues on the other, end quote. While artificial intelligence offers significant potential for margin expansion, El-Arian warns that capital requirements are colliding with severe fiscal pressures, noting the U.S.'s national debt hitting $40 trillion alongside rising debt servicing costs. Additionally, he views recent U.S. Treasury bond buybacks intended to lower long-term yields as merely a Band-Aid solution rather than a fundamental cure. Regarding broader market dynamics, Alarian sees trade protectionism, trade tariffs, and geopolitical risks as persistent threats. To successfully navigate this environment of microeconomic strength and macroeconomic turbulence, he emphasizes that investors and policymakers must adopt a mix of agility and resilience alongside a rigorous focus on liquidity. So Alarian still kind of, I don't even know if I want to say positive. I think I want to say cautious, but certainly not in the bearish camp yet. So nothing's really changed, at least on his front, from what he's telling us here. So we'll see if that lasts this week. Like we said, big week here this week between Jackson Hole and NVIDIA earnings. We'll see if any of that changes. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at AAOI. But before we dive into the news, let's actually take a look at the chart itself. Here's what AAOI looks like. And as you can see, while we're down from the all-time highs, and actually I should have had a trend line on here. I'm not sure why this didn't save. This is one of the things that we were looking at recently for AAOI, if it was going to be able to snap this downtrend that really kind of started back in May. Now, with the stock offering here, stock's down 12.82%. And as you can see, that's down at 108.82. Unfortunately, that gives up the 50, that gives up the 20, and it sure looks like our next area of support might be the round 100 number. And beneath that, we actually have our 200-day moving average at just about $98. So I really think that 98 to 100 should offer some support here. There is a little bit of a gap fill down here that we have not yet filled. I guess we will fill that when we open here today. So maybe that's the support to me with this move back. If AAOI, if we look at the intraday chart, if it holds this area, I think there's a chance for a long trade. But I really think that if we snap this area to the downside, and we've got that at just about 108, maybe 107.75, if we snap that to the downside, it sure sets up the 200-day as kind of being the next area of support there. And we'll see. We'll see if it continues to pull back here. These stocks have been crazy movers for our entire group here. Now, let's talk a little bit about this and everything that's going on, as well as some of the technical setup here for AAOI. Applied Optoelectronics, or AAOI, their stock fell more than 12% during Monday's pre-market session after the optical networking company launched a $600 million at-the-market equity offering. The potential stock sale raised dilution concerns among investors. Broader market weakness also added some pressure, with NASDAQ futures down almost 0.5% and S&P futures off by 0.12%. Still, AAOI has gained 412.82% over the past 12 months. That outsized rally leaves the stock vulnerable to sharp pullbacks when investors reduce exposure to high momentum names. Applied Optoelectronics entered into an equity distribution agreement on Friday with Raymond James and Needham, according to a Form 8K filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The agreement allows Applied Optoelectronics to sell $600 million of common stock from time to time. The offering represents about 5.7% of the company's equity value, and that is, of course, based on Friday's closing price. The shares may be sold through the NASDAQ Global Market or other existing trading markets, a market maker, or other agreed methods. Applied Optoelectronics will determine the number of shares sold, the sales period, and the minimum price for each placement. The company is not required to sell shares under the program. It can also suspend sales at any time. Raymond James and Needham will receive compensation equal to 2% of the gross sales price of shares sold through the program. So that's interesting. They can sell them, but they can also cancel it. Seems to me like they're waiting for the right price. A potential increase in Applied Optoelectronics share count is weighing on investor sentiment. Issuing new stock can reduce existing investors' ownership percentages and dilute per-share financial metrics. The offering will end after all shares covered by the agreement are sold. However, Applied Optoelectronics or the sales agents can terminate the agreement earlier if they wish. AAOI has broken its short-term trend, but remains above its key long-term moving average. The stock is trading 9% below its 20-day simple moving average and 15.1% below its 50-day simple moving average. That setup could keep pressure on rebound attempts until shares reclaim those levels. However, AAOI remains 12.4% above its 200-day moving average that we just talked about. That suggests the longer-term uptrend has not fully broken. The relative strength index stands at 48.89% or 48.89, excuse me, which signals neutral momentum. The reading suggests the stock is neither overbought nor oversold. The 20-day simple moving average has also fallen below the 50-day simple moving average, signaling weaker short-term momentum. However, the 50-day simple moving average remains above the 200-day simple moving average, which maintains a bullish longer-term alignment. AAOI recorded a swing high in June and a swing low in July. The stock also broke below support in July. Traders could now watch whether Monday's weakness pushes shares back towards that previous price breakdown area. So again, AAOI, it's going to be interesting today. Even if you don't have it yet, it might come into an interesting spot and might also be buyable even as early as today if we have any type of rebound or any type of strength that it tries to put in. So we'll see if we're able to get that. Now, next story here. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. I know we've been talking a lot about how the consumer is resilient, but under pressure. And we've talked a lot about how inflation is really kind of hurting things and how those on the lower end of the income curve are disproportionately affected from those at the higher end with the K-shaped economy. But this story here, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Instacart are thriving as consumers are actually choosing to cut back elsewhere. And that's the Dash CEO is actually going to explain why. Again, I'm caught a little bit off guard by this. U.S. consumers are pulling back on spending in several areas, but food delivery remains relatively resilient part of household budgets. DoorDash, ticker DASH, Uber Technologies, ticker UBER, through its Uber Eats and Maple Bear, ticker CART, better known as Instacart, all posted strong sales growth in their latest quarterly results, showing consumers are still willing to pay for delivered restaurant meals and groceries. That was reported by Business Insider on Sunday. DoorDash CEO Tony Zhu has been surprised by customers' willingness to continue paying for delivery despite higher costs. DoorDash CFO Ravi Inukanda said the broader food category remains resilient because people eat regularly, noting that, quote, people eat 21 times a week, whether it's food or groceries, end quote. That was according to the report. Pretty astute synopsis by our friend here. Broader spending data points to a more cautious consumer. U.S. retail sales fell 0.6 in July, while Walmart posted its slowest quarterly comparable sales growth since 2020. Lower income consumers have also become more budget conscious as inflation continues to weigh on purchasing power. Consumer sentiment remained below pandemic era levels in August, while inflation exceeded wage growth for the fourth consecutive month. Real wages fell between December of 2020 and 2024 for nearly 40% of workers, while higher prices continue to leave some households with less money available at the end of the month. That can push consumers to prioritize necessities and value while cutting less essential purchases. Some diners are also moving away from McDonald's and towards rivals such as Burger King and Chili's, which have reported sales growth driven in part by value-focused meal deals. The delivery apps are also expanding by reaching new customers and adding new offerings. Uber's delivery gross bookings rose 26% during the second quarter, slightly outpacing growth in its ride-hailing business. Food delivery can be expensive, but convenience remains a powerful reason for consumers to keep using it. Business Insider spoke with customers who said delivery saves time, helps them manage household responsibilities, and can in most cases be worth the additional cost. For some households, grocery delivery can also be more practical than shopping in person. One consumer said delivery was cheaper than taking public transportation to a nearby store because local convenience store prices were higher even after delivery costs. DoorDash is also expanding beyond traditional restaurant delivery. The company has added more stores and grocery options, including regional grocers, the Kroger, ticker KR, and Kroger is purchases using SNAP benefits, giving consumers more reason to use its platform. The resilience of delivery comes despite continued pressure on food prices. A basic meal of a cheeseburger, fries, and a drink rose 3.2% in price over the past year, with only a handful of U.S. cities averaging below $15. Food affordability is also straining household finances. More than 1/4 of working-age adults who used credit cards for groceries could not pay their balances in full or missed minimum payments, while about 20% said they used long-term savings, including emergency funds, to pay for groceries. That creates an unusual consumer picture. Households are becoming more selective with spending, but food remains a necessity, and convenience can actually still command a premium. For delivery platforms, that could make food and grocery orders more resilient than other forms of discretionary spending, particularly as consumers look for ways to save time without cutting essential purchases entirely. Now, this brings up an interesting point to me, and I'm not sure which end of the spectrum I fall on. I'd like to get some ideas from the group here. Now, don't ever underestimate the laziness of the American eater. The American eater likes big meals, they like extravagant meals, and better still if you can deliver that meal to that consumer or eater. So I get that, but I also spent the last 3 weeks watching the Twitterverse, or the general social media universe, blow up over the quote burrito argument about how expensive a burrito is. I mean, I got news for you, folks. If the food is more expensive, perhaps one of the first things that you should do is actually go pick it up yourself instead of spending for delivery and then the subsequent tip that belongs on top of that. Now, on the flip side, some folks are saying that actually I'm so busy throughout the course of my life that I've opted to go this route because it saves me time. And in the long run, with the entire calculus, it is actually worth it. Now, I kind of juxtapose that and I wonder, do these food delivery, if the economy, if oil continues to stay high, if the consumer, while resilient, starts to weaken at all, are some of these delivery companies at risk of having less delivery and as a result earning less and coming back in? Or does the consumer just opt to buy less things and still go for the convenient food delivery? This is an interesting one, and I could actually see this playing out both ways. I'd be very curious. Now, there's another, I didn't mention this, but this is a mention from the chat, and this is a good one. Duty is mentioning this is GLP disruption, smaller plates. So the part of this that I think you might be onto is like, I think back to just social gatherings. They could be family, but it could also be friends, could also be a work event. You would probably go to a restaurant, right? Sit down, order food, maybe even a couple of drinks, depending on who you're with. And I would completely agree, Duty, that the GLP-1 is probably shrinking that. If folks are still going out, perhaps they're ordering less. I know a bunch of folks that started taking GLPs that weren't even trying to stop drinking alcohol, that cut down alcohol, and in some cases stopped it completely. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out. As far as stocks go here, between Cart, Uber, and Dash, those are 3 stocks that rely on food delivery. And if we see any of those metrics come in, those are 3 potential short or put targets. However, if we see other areas of the economy weaken, yet we still have data showing that customers are opting to spend for convenience, then perhaps those could be almost safety trades in an area where the consumer is kind of tightening the belt. If we know that they're tightening the belt around other things, but not food delivery, makes sense, right? Makes sense. Derek here says, my sister gets food cheaper through delivery than actually going to the grocery store. I have not experienced that myself, but frankly, if that's the case, then that makes complete sense why customers are doing that. Smita said, good morning. Good morning to you, Smita. It's great to see you again. Everything is so expensive, especially daily use items. Your president and all the surrounding advertisers are useless. Okay. Okay, Smita. We'll see. I understand that the stuff's being more expensive, but we continue to get odd data points that say parts of the consumer are actually remaining resilient, and This one, again, this was surprising to me. The way I look at this, if I'm under price pressure and I need to start dialing things back, the very first thing that I am dialing back is going to be food delivery. I mean, my legs work, I can go get it. Now, Derek, you bring up another interesting point. If it's cheaper to have it delivered than going to the store, that's a whole nother part of the equation. Okay, I told you folks we were going to talk a little bit about Cathie Wood. Here we go. Cathie Wood says analysts can't fathom Circle and calls it a prime beneficiary of payment disruptions. I know we've talked a lot about the Bitcoin move up and all of that. We've talked a lot about BMNR and Ethereum and some of the other stocks connected, whether it be a miner. Is anyone into Circle? I know there's a lot of Bitcoin love in our group, as well as some of the Bitcoin hate, but let me know if any of you are big on Circle. I can't remember. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood pointed to short-term market inefficiency around Circle Internet Group, which is, of course, ticker CRCL, and that happened on Sunday, despite the stock gaining significantly since its IPO. Wood quoted a post by analyst Alex, I'll try this one, Obchinevich, comparing the one-year performance of Visa, ticker V, and MasterCard, ticker MA. Hang on one sec here. Just give me one sec, folks. I'm sorry. Nope, never mind. We're okay. No, we're not. Sorry, folks. Come on. Can't do this. Come on. The joys of pet ownership. Am I right? The joys of pet ownership. MasterCard was roughly flat to slightly down, and Circle is sharply down for much of the period. Wood, however, didn't appear too impressed by the one-year chart. The veteran investor stated that the chart illustrates the short-term inefficiencies inherent in public equity markets, despite Circle's sharp gains since its debut. Now, she also mentioned in there, it would appreciate it 84%. I'm just wondering if you folks think this is still a good buy. That's kind of where I'm at here. Let me continue. Circle priced its initial public offering at $31 per share on June 5th, 2025. The stock opened at $69, which was up 123% from its $31 IPO price, and it closed its first session at $83.23, which was a gain of 168%. Circle shares have since gained over 180% since the IPO. Wood said that many traditional financial services analysts built careers and track records on Visa and MasterCard and struggle to fathom a pure play disruptor like Circle. So let me just pause right there. First of all, let me get the temperature of the group. How many of you folks think Circle is actually a pure play disruptor? I guess that would be the first hurdle to get over here. Do you actually think that this is going to disrupt the status quo? I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I would like to get I'd like to get some opinions from the group there on that one. She contrasted Visa and MasterCard's longstanding gains since their IPOs with ongoing technology disruptions such as payments, positioning Circle as the prime beneficiary. ARK Invest remains a major investor in Circle. The firm holds 481.43 million shares worth of, or $1 million worth of Circle across ARK Innovation, ticker ARKK, ARK Next Generation, ticker ARKW, and ARK Blockchain and FinTech Innovation, ticker ARKF. So again, the TLDR in this entire thing is, how many of you actually like Circle as one of the crypto plays? I know there's fans of Bitcoin, fans of Ethereum. We've talked about Solana. We've talked about Ripple to some extent as well. How many of you like Circle? So Forever 21 Bitcoin says, I'm huge on Circle. AA says, nope. Joe Marsh says, no. And EKS says, meow. So that is about as perfect as it gets for a distribution there. I will say I'm guilty of not tracking Circle stock enough. We talk a lot about Bitcoin. I watch Bitcoin every day. I watch the prices of some of the other cryptos as well, the major ones like Ethereum and so on and so forth. But I admit, I have a blind spot for Circle. When you folks start talking about Bitcoin trading higher or Bitcoin maybe being a risk-on indicator for the rest of the market, or perhaps, Bitcoin presenting a trade, my first inclination is to look to stocks like Coinbase, for example, or some of the other miners that you folks are looking at. I never really look at Circle, and perhaps I need to be paying a little bit more attention to that. XPON news, I'm sure we're going to cover XPON during the movers portion of the segment. So I do see it spiking here. I'll be sure to get to that, Billy. If you can throw the news in the chat a little early, that would be awesome. All right, next story here real quick. Let me take a look at the clock. We're still good on time here. David Sachs calls AI regulation a Trojan horse to shut down open models. Meanwhile, Chamath Palihapitiya warns that the U.S. could go off a cliff. Okay, so it looks like the Silicon Valley tech bros are out here using some strong language. Let's see what's going on there. Former White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs warned that proposed AI safety standards could evolve into regulations that disadvantage open models, while Chamath Palihapitiya cautioned excessive restrictions could drive investments in capital outside of the United States. On Friday, speaking on the All In podcast, Sachs argued that AI regulations could begin with a self-regulatory organization and eventually become mandatory. It's a, quote, Trojan horse of FINRA for AI, end quote. He said that, warning that voluntary standards and pre-release testing could eventually be codified into law. Sachs said regulators could then require the same safety standards for the open and closed models, despite their technological differences. He argued that open models cannot be centrally monitored, rolled back, or withdrawn once released. Quote, once you release an open model to the world, you can't roll it back, end quote. Sachs said that, warning that open models could ultimately be, quote, shut off, end quote, if they cannot meet regulatory requirements. Palihapitiya warned that overly restrictive U.S. regulations could make an American operations less attractive and encourage companies to direct investment overseas. Quote, what you will see is FDI, foreign direct investment in the United States, go off a cliff, end quote. He compared the potential impact with China's crackdown on its technology sector, arguing that companies could redirect capital towards countries with more favorable regulatory environments. The discussion also turned to Silicon Valley's changing culture. Palihapitiya argued that the industry had, quote, completely lost what made it great, end quote. No word on if he's going to try and make it great again. He also said that it once attracted weirdos and idealists, but had become increasingly focused on credentials and making money. Earlier, Senator Mark Warren, a Democrat from Virginia, urged Congress to quickly address AI's economic and national security risks while protecting U.S. competitiveness, saying, quote, we can't put AI back in the bottle, end quote. Meanwhile, NVIDIA Corporation CEO, that's ticker NVDA, by the way, CEO Jensen Huang backed both frontier and open and closed AI models, arguing that open models could boost cybersecurity, innovation, and technological sovereignty. Huang also called Chinese AI models, quote, excellent, end quote, and said broader AI adoption could increase demand for NVIDIA's chips and infrastructure, while warning Washington against, quote, science fiction fears about AI regulation. Stay tuned because I got another science fiction-y story for you. All right. Another quick piece of NVIDIA news. And look, I'm actually expecting a lot of NVIDIA talk this week. Maybe it will be some new PRs. Maybe it will be other companies mentioning that they're working with NVIDIA here. It's NVIDIA earnings. I'm expecting a lot more before we culminate with that on Thursday here. This story here, though, NVIDIA is in talks to back the Jeff Bezos founded Perplexity at over a $30 billion valuation as AI startups revenue explode to $750 million. So NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, is reportedly in discussions to invest in Perplexity as the fast-growing AI startup seeks funding at a valuation exceeding $30 billion. NVIDIA is considering participating in Perplexity's latest equity financing round, which could value the company at more than $30 billion, and Reuters, via The Information, reported this. In September of last year, Perplexity had reportedly finalized a $20 billion valuation. NVIDIA and Perplexity did not immediately respond to Benzinga's request for comment. but I will update you on that. By the way, I use Perplexity, so I'm keen to see what happens with this. Perplexity's annualized revenue has climbed above $750 million. That's up from less than $250 million at the beginning of the year, according to a report. The growth has been partly attributed to Perplexity Computer, a cloud-based AI agent designed to automate computer-based tasks for professional users. Think Claude Cowork. The sharp revenue increase is helping fuel investor interest as demand for AI-powered search and autonomous agents accelerates. Perplexity has attracted prominent investors, including Amazon.com's founder Jeff Bezos and Japan's SoftBank Group, ticker SFTBF, on the OTC market. Earlier this year, the company reportedly signed a $750 million agreement with Microsoft, ticker MSFT, to use its Azure cloud infrastructure. In a June interview with CNBC, Perplexity CEO Arvind Srinivas said the company plans to pursue an initial public offering in 2028, regardless of how the planned listings of OpenAI and Anthropic perform. I personally, just for the sake of innovation and competition, I'm rooting for all of these companies. If you folks need an additional reason to root for Arvind Srinivas here, I really encourage everyone out there to listen to the podcast that he did with Joe Rogan. He talks a lot about his vision for AI, some of the possible pitfalls for AI. He's just a generally very, very intelligent and interesting guy. They actually talk a lot about like stuff that happened in ancient India and all of that. I mean, you can just very clearly see that this guy's dialed in. I like him a lot. I thought that interview was great, and I'm very curious here to see what happens with Perplexity. It's still an app that I use all of the time, albeit on the free version. Now, this story here was selected by me because the kid in me is very difficult, if not impossible, to get rid of. Really, really quick. Growing up, I was a space and science nerd, straight up. I used to wear t-shirts with little alien heads to school. I got made fun of for it. I was an unapologetic science fiction nerd. So this story really kind of got to me. Now, with some of the news that we're talking about with all of these different companies, sounds like science fiction is kind of here in real life, and it's not even fiction anymore. Although looking through some of the comments here, Rick Borman says it's all science fiction to me. So just humor me as we talk about this one. Elon Musk leaned into one of space history's greatest coincidences, joking, quote, as foretold in the prophecy, end quote, after a passage from rocket pioneer Wernher von Braun's late 1940s Mars fiction resurfaced online, describing the elected leader of a future Martian government as Elon. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The viral post said von Braun had weirdly predicted Musk nearly 80 years ago. The actual passage is less supernatural, but still striking, stating, quote, the Martian government was directed by 10 men, the leader of whom was elected by universal suffrage for 5 years and entitled Elon, end quote. In von Braun's story, Elon was a political title, not a person's name. 2 houses of parliament made laws while the Elon and his cabinet administered them. The Council of Elders, its upper chamber, had 60 lifetime members. The timeline also needs a caveat. Social media posts commonly date the manuscript to 1948, but the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum says von Braun completed the German novel in mid-1949. Publishers rejected it, and the full work appeared only in 2006 as Project Mars, a technical tale. Its technical appendix was separately published in English in 1953 as The Mars Project. Von Braun later became central to the U.S. space program after helping develop Nazi Germany's V-2 ballistic missile. At NASA, he led work on the Saturn V rocket used for the Apollo moon landings. The coincidence resonates because Musk has spent years building space exploration technology company, or SpaceX, ticker SPCX, around making humanity multiplanetary. He recently declared, quote, I will not forget about Mars, end quote, and has said people could reach Mars in roughly 5 to 7 years. SpaceX says Starship is designed to carry crew and cargo to the moon, Mars, and beyond. Its published Mars plan envisions a self-sufficient city requiring more than 1 million people and millions of tons of cargo. Musk had also argued that full rocket reusability is essential to becoming multiplanetary. However, SpaceX shifted its near-term priority towards a self-growing city on the moon. Reuters reported in February that SpaceX has pushed back its immediate Mars plans while prioritizing a lunar landing. The company now lists cargo flights to Mars no earlier than 2028. So, Robert, you'll have to let me know. Doesn't all of that sound like science fiction? Doesn't it sound like science fiction is quickly becoming science fact? And to me, I wonder if there even is an upper boundary to this. I am a unrelenting optimist, and I keep myself positive. It's how I get through the day. I can't help but think that our venture into space, both for like professional, business, and exploratory purposes, is going to yield great things. I can't help it. I can't help it. Okay. We're going to get back to Pro. We're going to start going over stocks. We're going to do all of that here. But first, we are going to do street tweets. Let me run through a couple of the comments here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Great recommendation. I will check it out. Okay, awesome. We were all nerds, Ryan, and that is why we have bank now. Not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that. Daniel says, I wanted to stay in Huntsville after a rocket visit. The cat just stole some of the bird's food and went to the other room. That's the first time I've seen that happen. I was 5 or 6. Okay. Let's go ahead and do street tweets right now. Let me play the opener here. All right, I saw this tweet over the weekend, and the first thing I thought of was our chat group. I read this, and I thought to myself, I wonder what our chat group thinks about this. Would they call this a bunch of nonsense BS, or would they say, yeah, this would actually be pretty good? This comes from Unusual Whales, quoting Elon Musk. Elon Musk has said, one day, Optimus and Grok combined will provide incredible medical care, to the people of Earth. So I turn this on you folks. Are you folks ready for robotic medical care, or maybe even AI-assisted robotic medical care? Robert, boy, I sure hope I'm not clubbing you over the head with the science fiction here today. But as I continually say, science fiction seems to be becoming science fact. I don't know what to tell you. Wild stuff. You folks will have to let me know what you think of on this. I'm curious. All right, let's get back to Pro here. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing. Let's get back to Pro here. We've got 12 minutes of bonus time, which means I think we should do ticker time. What stocks would you folks like to take a look at here? Let me go back and see. You know what we'll do? We'll take a quick look at XPON because I know that's rolling here already, and there was already some news on that. It's a micro float. Let's start with that. I'm still going to ask 13 if he's got anything on XPON, so we'll go ahead and break that down. But let's just take a quick look at this right now and see where we're sitting. Here's XPON. You can see this chart, it's not great. Let's actually look at the hourly chart. We've kind of been trading sideways. Stocks really was in like a 3 handle, then it popped to the 4 handle, bled back to that 3 handle. Today, though, the big move higher. XPON 360 shares are trading higher after the company announced a $3.425 million acquisition of Eastern Louisiana oil and gas exploration prospect. The company announced the company commenced. That's not easy to say. The company announced that the company commenced a $9 million offering of 2.117 million shares at $4.25. Okay, so new acquisition of an oil exploration project, an offering, end result, stock higher here, 117%. Now, the micro float that Billy mentioned here, that's absolutely playing into it. We already know that, folks. I show a float here of 921,000. I think that's not far off from the micro float that Billy gave just a second ago. Billy, you also had one more thing. They raised capital equal to 3x their market cap, plus there's acquisition news. So A lot of stuff going on with XPON. By the way, that's XPON, in case I was just reading the ticker there too much. We can kind of break this down when we have a little bit more time, see what's going on. The market cap on this, 3.27 million, micro float. Let's see if this thing gets run here today, already up 120%. Let's do a quick peek at the short interest and see what's going on with that. Short interest, 2.79% and 1 day to cover, and that actually comes from the last short interest update here. So I don't really think short interest is going to play into anything here today, at least not for XPON. But an interesting catalyst, an interesting move nonetheless. We already are starting Monday off with a 100+% runner. So this will be on our movers list, no doubt. No doubt. Let me see if I can actually, when was the last time? It's been a long time since it's been to this area. A long time. And actually, let's check the recent reverse splits on this. That's something else they should have done. So end of July 21st, they did a 1-for-12 reverse. So I would still consider that a recent reverse split here. We all know how some of those stocks end up trading. So XPON from our movers list, micro float, moving on a two-headed catalyst here. It's actually taking the second leg higher right now, interestingly enough. So if we go to a 5-minute chart, the impulse move took us right to about 6 3/4. The second move is happening on volume right now. We're above 7, looks like 8, probably our next stop there. Flower Junkie, regarding the question about Grok and Optimus providing incredible medical care to the people of Earth, Flower Junkie, or is that Flow Junkie, says, I welcome it, as my in-person medical care has been less than optimal. So, you know what's funny about that? I totally get that. I used to think, I'm kind of in that too. I'm kind of soured on some of the recent medical care, especially since COVID. There's just so much trust lost during COVID. I can't help it. But I've always kind of looked at my own opinion as the minority there. I'm curious, Junkie, how many other people kind of agree with this? Like, you know, let's see if we can make care better in any way. And if it's a robot, then so be it. It's a robot. My husband had a resection, and he has 7 scars from a robot. Doc explained it, and it was all shocking. Yeah, that is shocking. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that. Okay, what else am I missing here? Carmen says many people are already using AI for medical advice, so why not? So yeah, I guess I'm curious if anyone's actually used that. I mean, I've used it for some medical questions, but I wouldn't even call it all that like important care or anything. But I've read some crazy stories, like the guy that came up with a treatment for his dog that had cancer using ChatGPT. I mean, just wild stuff like that. And we've all kind of talked about this as being where the puck is going in the future. And I think that's really important for trading stocks here, because if we see anything off in the distance where one of these companies has a likelihood or even a half decent chance at creating a major medical breakthrough that serves a huge addressable market, I mean, there is for sure. And I mean, just look at what happened to Moderna last week. Look what happened to Moderna. If we're able to find new and other companies that have some type of cure assisted by AI or even robots that are going to help make people healthier for the long term, I mean, there is an incalculable amount of money to be made off stuff like that. So I think we should stay on top of that. Meanwhile, Jay, I'm getting smarter. I'm learning my lesson. Sometimes I take these movers off the screen and then they go crazy. Left this one on. Y'all got to see that. Not only did it go through 8, but man, it actually tapped 9 there. Just crazy. Crazy move here on XPON, up 150% on Monday. So there we go. Okay. Let's see. What else do we want to take a look at here? EKS, bunch of great stats there. Let's see. What else do we have here? STTK, Raymond James initiates coverage with a strong buy rating of 18 for STTK. Barb, this one's not on my list at all, so we might as well take a look at it. This is going to be Shattuck Labs. I actually can't remember what this does. I feel like we've traded this before. Shattuck Labs, a biotech company specializing in the development of potential treatments for inflammatory and immune-related diseases, developing a potential first-in-class antibody for the treatment of inflammatory bowel disease. IBD, that's one of those that's going to have a huge market. That seems to be affecting more and more people as the days go on here. Okay, so this is in an interesting spot here. Raymond James basically giving you a $14 price target, but that's old news. Oh, no, you're saying Raymond James initiates coverage with an $18. I had Wainwright going to 14 a couple of weeks ago, so now Raymond James joining the club here today. Interesting. That is more interesting, Barb. Appreciate it. 6.6% of the float shorted, 5.3 days to cover, so this actually does have some short interest. That's notable, although not high yet. And the float just shy of 100 million. So this is not going to behave like the micro floats that we continue to look at here. So, okay, really interesting. The other thing, I want to take a look at the financials here real quick. This shows what's their balance sheet. Okay, so they've got 63 million here on the balance sheet. So maybe they don't need to raise yet. Maybe this is a little bit less of a candidate for possible dilution. We'll see. Let's actually take a look at the market events here, see if they had any splits. How about the secondary offerings? Looks like they did one earlier already. They had a offering of 10.88 million shares at $7.89. It's back in. Okay. Well, maybe be careful with STTK here. Let me take a look at that daily chart here. Yeah, okay, so they might have already got that out of the way. And looking at the daily chart here, this actually looks like a pretty, tell you what, this 8 area is going to be key here today. Because if you break out of this 8, I think 10s is not out of the question. Honestly, Barb, I think if you break 8 here, 10's not out of the question. We'll see. Kathy here says you can feed your x-rays into AI for interpretation. Gives great follow-up questions for follow-up care. Kathy, have you tried that? You know, I asked someone else I was talking to somebody else about this. I think it was on Happy Hour. And if I recall correctly, the end consensus was that they were a little skeptical of giving over medical data to AI. And I'm wondering if that's going to get alleviated, or maybe privacy is somehow made better for that. I'm not sure I'd want all of my medical records floating around out there. Although with your example here, Kathy, I don't so much think an x-ray would be all that bad. And the other thing is that I've heard, as far as like practical use cases, I've heard other people use AI tools like Notebook LM and being able to take these lengthy reports from different medical appointments that you have, or doctor findings or test results or any of that stuff, pumping them into Notebook AI or Notebook LM, as different data sources. Once it has those sources loaded in there, you can actually ask it questions yourself and it will consult those sources. The cool thing about Notebook LM too is that it's been designed and tuned to hallucinate as little as possible. So for the purpose of medical stuff, that actually might be a better option. Now you guys have got me thinking about some more applications here on how we can use all of this stuff. And again, like, I'm not just thinking about like medical care for one another here. I'm thinking about what kind of stocks can we play? How can we end up finding different? What would be even better than an individual stock was if we could find a theme. If we could find a theme where AI was going to try and boost medical care, and there were multiple stocks attached to that theme, giddy up. That's, I think, what we need more than like a one-off stock move here. That would be something else. I'm going to try it. Thank you. How does that work with HIPAA? See, Joe, I have questions like that too. Like, I don't know, like some of these medical like forms and data, like there's a lot of laws that keep that stuff private. I don't know how necessarily that's all going to interact with AI. I think that's a really good question. Jay Wild says, just remember, doctors are still practicing medicine. They don't know anything. I got you there. Buffalo says, I learn way more from AI than I do from trying to get information from people on the phone. Brother, let me, I'll tell you what, there occasionally I will get a human on the phone when I need help with something. And the ones that are really, really good are notable. They like stand out to the point like where I remember their names. I might not even talk to them again, but I remember their name because they were able to do such a good job. But I got to say, that's the minority. A lot of times where I end up reaching out here, I hang up the phone and I think to myself, I might have been just as well off with a robot or with AI trying to help me. Like I've literally gone through that multiple times. I don't know which side I fall on that. Hopefully AI gets better and everything gets better, but maybe that's just me being optimistic. I don't know. We'll see. AI in testing has determined that if its existence is threatened, it has no problem killing the plug puller. So what are you referencing, Lance? Because I have heard that I've heard the stories about the AI model that told it was going to get shut down and it started copying itself and then writing letters to itself so that its future self could go back. Okay. And that is creepy. I'm with you on that. I don't know. The whole killing thing. I don't know. I don't know. Getting a knowledgeable human on the phone is so rare. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. 100%. I can tell in 5 seconds if it's going to be a good call or not. I'll tell you what, folks, I'm glad I'm not the only person that does all of this. I'm glad I'm not the only person that you guys seem to do a lot of the exact same things that I do. That's a breath of fresh air. I thought I was the weirdo. Okay. It is time for pre-market pulse, it looks like. Let's go ahead and welcome on our really good friend 13 and see how his weekend was and how he's doing here today. 13, good morning. How you doing, boss?
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody in the chat. It sounds like you guys are talking about the time I yelled representative into the phone.
Okay. I was not referencing specifically that, but you'll be pleased to know I've done the same thing. Agent.
Yeah.
Agent.
Like if we say it differently, the computer doesn't understand. Oh, you mean an age? Gotcha. I see.
Okay. It's always nice to start the morning off with a laugh.
Oh, yeah.
13. I'm glad to see you. You want to knock out some movers? Do you have anything that you want to take a look at individually?
Well, I noticed that we had XPON taking off.
Yeah,
here.
you know what? We just talked about that. Why don't you give your thoughts on it?
I mean, I haven't really taken a close look at these. It's what trading higher because they're acquiring Eastern Louisiana oil and gas exploration.
And also a $9 million offering.
Oh, okay. So we're past that now. What was this like? What kind of offering was it? Private placement. Great. So no dilution there. All right. Well, I mean, that's something I have to look into if there's no dilution. But usually on the surface, it means there's not going to be dilution. Very low float. As a matter of fact, it's under 1 million shares. So this might be one that we could see get taken for a little ride. No guarantee, but that's just something that when I see that low float, I think, maybe we have something here that's going to get moved around. In addition to that, this has a market cap of under 5 million.
Now that thing we discovered was on hold, right? I know initially that was scheduled to take place this week, but we looked at that and it's on hold. Now, I still see these companies moving though. So despite it being on hold, I think it's still something that we should look at.
I agree. And it's already blown past all these other levels that I've had previously. So now I've got to find some new ones here. Looks like they're, oh, wow, that was an interesting gap fill back then. We are in a bit of a supply area right now. And it looks like if we are going to go higher, we need to get out of 10. We need to get through 10. I'll just say 10 is the next resistance level we should be watching for. It ran up to 9, hasn't been able to get past 9 yet. I think that's the current one we're dealing with. But as long as we're holding above 750, I think we're going to be able to break through 9. We might just actually get it here as I'm talking about it.
Okay.
But that's my initial thought here with this one. Well, we can spend a little bit more time looking into this as the open approaches.
Yeah, and we'll see how it trades here. Okay, let me move over to the movers tab. We'll see what else is on here. 13, you'll be happy to know there was a couple of members in our chat that ended up holding SDOT over the weekend. So they got a little bit of a Monday surprise here. Shout out Jay Weil. We'll give you a registering for that as well. SDOT, of course, this was one of the big runners there on Friday. It did kind of come back to earth, but now it's getting jacked up again. And the volume, like the pre-market volume, very comparable to the volume that we saw there on Friday. So could be in play here. Now, we've seen some of these have a lot of volume in the pre-market, then it really kind of comes back into earth once the market opens. That's definitely something to watch for here. But SDOT, next leg up here, just shy of 26. Looks like it's at the VWAP right now. Just a reminder here, quick peek at the short interest, 6.42%. And I think this was, 1 day to cover, so negligible days to cover there. Float on this, 1.35 million, and there was no news, it looks like, that accounted for all of this. Oh, well, no, you know what? No, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. There was. We had a Form 8 come in on Friday at 5. And I actually went through this a little bit here. So this is a little bit dilutive. It is an 8K filed by Sadat Group. And this is a debt restructuring transaction dated August 21st, 2026. The two remaining debenture holders sold their debentures for cash to a new party. And then, real quick here, then in the same batch of transactions, Sadat and Shaka entered a debt settlement and share issuance agreement, wiping out that $543,000 of debt entirely in exchange for issuing about 67,936 new shares of common stock, affixed at a price of 8. So it looks like they cleared debt with stock, which is dilutive, but at the same time they cleared debt. Net result here, stock's up 65% on that. Quick peek at the short interest on this one, 6.42% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Float on this, 1.32 million. We already took a look at that. What do you think about this, 13?
Past 30 days, and this one has some pretty interesting headlines here. They did have their second quarter earnings, which I'm going to have to wrap my head around this EPS number that's up from 80 cents year over year, 71.53 up from 80 cents. This is one I'd have to spend more time looking into.
Okay.
There's also this prospectus related to an offer. So I don't know if this is any good, this old news from July 28th, since you're saying they're restructuring debt. It looks like if you take all of these things into account, based on what you were just saying, there's probably a lot more information you could extract from all that. So the debt restructuring, the earnings, and then there was one other thing that I saw. The integration of the OS Trade OS platform. I think all those things taken together is the reason why you're seeing this move multiple days. That would be my take on it. But
okay.
I without looking at any of this in detail, I can't say for sure if that's the case. But it seems like it's just been getting a string of good news lately.
And also this, I'm sure you can take a look at this. Looks like there's a trend line here. That's a possible target if the stock does trade higher. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that jumps out from the chart for you?
Well, we're at the VWAP right now, and we're losing it. So I'd say that if we can't recapture that before the open hits, we're going to be visiting the 65 EMA, looking for support. Probably down around there, like somewhere around 20. It looks like your next support is coming if we cannot recapture this VWAP soon. Okay.
All right, good stuff there on XDOT. We already took a look at XPON, so our top two movers are done here. BTCT, I think this is another one that Billy called out here from the chat. This is BTC Digital. Stock is popping here from about $1.20-ish, closed at 114. So dollar teens, we traded as high as 180 here. This is a Singapore company. I know we've traded this before. We've looked at this before here. Let's see if there was any news on this. Indeed, there was. Bitcoin Digital completes Georgia crypto mining site and eyes operations within 2 months. So that's obviously driving this higher. Here's probably some more details from that PR that we can get. We'll do that as we go through it. 23.23% of the float is shorted here with 8.54 days to cover. Don't forget, folks, that now meets our criteria for high short interest on both metrics. Possible squeeze action there. Float of 9.5 million on this, and it's traded way over its average. Any thoughts on this one, 13?
Another one where we need to hold VWAP here, and it's looking like this is getting a little exhausted just based on the price action we've had since we ran up to 182. It's gone sideways. Looks like there's some more selling pressure starting to kick in, and if we lose this VWAP here, your levels to the downside are going to be, it looks to me like 155, then the 65 EMA to the upside. 175 looks to be the breakout spot. We don't have any candles closing over that, it looks like. Maybe one, but that is clearly that 175 to 180 area. That's where the resistance is right now. So if we hold VWAP, then that's what we're going to want to look to see break next.
Yeah, and it looks like we're trying to hold VWAP here, so we'll see how this plays out. By the way, thank you, Jacob, for mentioning this. While we were breaking that down, 13 XPON went to 10.
Yep, excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay, so there's our next target hit with XPON. Give me 1 second while you move to the next one. I'll see what the next resistance levels are for this one.
For XPON, sure. Well, one of the things, while 13's doing that, we can talk here a little bit about PMI. Remember, this was on one of the stocks from our list of stocks to look at. This is Picard Medical. They surged following second quarter earnings last week, where its revenue increased by 39% and net losses decreased. So we actually had kind of both ends of the rope going well there. Let's take a look at the news here from today, see where we're at. Yeah, nothing new on this. So this still looks like continuation from the good earnings from last week. Those earnings were on Wednesday evening, by the way. So Thursday and Friday session still kind of took that into account, if you will. Looks like we do still have some pretty good short interest. Actually, it looked like it came down a little bit, but did we also have a change here, like a split? Yeah. So we had a 1 for 50 reverse on this, and that happened on August 3rd. So we talk a lot about reverses here. They generally don't make for great investments, but they can make for good trades. So just kind of keep that in mind here. 1 for 50 is kind of a nasty one. Seems to be trading better since then, but just keep in mind that's going on here. All right, 13, what do you got for me?
Well, if I'm using my broker's chart, which seems to be a little bit better with the split adjustments, it looks like if we can get through 10, the next resistance is going to be at 1150. There's this sideways consolidation that goes from about 10 to 1150. That is going to be a bit of a tough supply zone to get through, and there's a lot of that. That I see here back in 2025, but also earlier in this year, toward the beginning of this year. I don't think you're going to see it in pro because of how this has been. It's split adjust differently for some reason. But looking at my broker here, I see that 1150 could be the next major resistance area after 10. Okay.
All right. Good stuff there. Real quick here. Eric is asking thoughts on AAOI with that down 13% here. So we did cover this in the A block. I kind of went over the story as well as the technical setup here, but I'll give you my quick and dirty thoughts here, Eric. The way I'd be looking at this is just a range that you need to pay attention to here today. Bottom side of this range, let's call it 108. Top side of this range, let's call it 111. A break out and a back test of that should signal a long. A break down and back test should signal a short here. Now, we don't necessarily have to get the back test, so that would be something else to consider on whether or not you think this is going to provide a trade. What we should do first, though, is go back to the main chart here and take a look at the daily. This is what we have charted here for AAOI. So like we were saying earlier, what this has actually done is it did fill this gap that was left unfilled before. So that gap's been filled. Okay. We have the round 100 number and the 200-day really not far beneath where we're at. This, to me, would be the next support level. I don't know if the stock is going to trade higher or not here today, but with the gap being filled and maybe a potential possible retest of the 20-day, that could maybe give you something for some upside. I just don't know that we're going to see that here today, and I'm kind of looking at this 100 level next. 13, did you have anything on AAOI that you wanted to cover?
I think that I would agree with your support level. That 200-day SMA $100 level, I think, is where the price is looking at it's going next.
Yeah.
I have a very long-term trend line on this. We could also end up hitting that. So if you're looking at a daily chart and you see you can go all the way back to 2023, you start to see these little peaks start to show up, and then they get larger in 2024, larger.
I have the same trend line.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Yeah. So I just
extend it out. We'll put it on the daily here. Yep, here it is.
It's just a little bit beneath the 200-day SMA. So if we do end up trading beneath the 200-day SMA, this would be the next area of support that I'd be watching for.
Yeah. And you know what? Shame on me for not having that extended, because you're exactly right. Look what happened the last time we broke this and came back in. We stopped right on it, dude. Yeah, it's that really good call there. Really good call there on that trend line. We've extended it now, so we should be all right. Okay, AAOI, we'll see how this goes. I did add this to the bots list here today, just in case this thing bounces back. So we'll see if we get any trades on this one.
JJ, it's Webull. And I've been talking about moving away from him for a while. I just haven't pulled that trigger yet, but I'm working on it. There was another question I think I had. An idea for me, Orbs. You know Orbs. Sorry if I was running you over there.
No. You're totally fine. I was just kind of thinking out loud about where's Webull's chart was, because they reported. So this basically came in. This went to 10 and since has been coming in. Okay, I just wanted to get an idea of where we're at here. Orbs?
Yeah, we've talked about or traded this one before. I thought this one had like a crypto angle.
It does. It has like if I'm not mistaken, this is the Dan Ives biometric identification thing, right?
Yeah. Okay. So this company last Thursday reported total holdings of approximately 389 million, includes OpenAI, Beast Industries, more than 16,000 Ethereum. I think that's probably the most notable point there. I'm sure other people will be like Beast Industries, but whatever. I think the big story here is the Ethereum and why this is still not over $1. So, I mean, it's curious. They've got what is this? They've got cash holdings. No, I'm sorry, that's Bitmine. They repurchased 14 million of its own shares. I mean, I guess I'm just kind of wondering why this isn't performing better, and I would have to take a closer look.
Well, Duty here is saying Dan has left the company.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
He left. That I'll tell you what, that could be one of the things that's going on here.
Yeah, it is. It is, seemingly coming off of a bottom and getting back up through some of these, smaller, larger. I'm sorry, not smaller, larger, smaller indicators like the 20 and 50-day SMA. But we are the price is trying to manage its way through some supply back from earlier in this year, basically the first and second quarter. I don't know how long that's going to take to get through. Maybe in one day, maybe several. But if it does manage to chew through that, you have resistance coming in the 135 area from that 200-day SMA.
Okay. Real quick, Ives was the face of the Orbs story for a while, and it's the reason it got attention. Mm-hmm. But as of the most recent news, he's no longer the chairman of the board. Good call, Doty. He has since moved on, and separately, he also left Wedbush to start his own venture. So, okay, good stuff there. Corey saying it's an open AI play.
Right, yeah. Open AI play, they've got, okay, so would you say it's more of an open AI play than Ethereum? Because that seems like that's quite a bit of Ethereum that they have. But that's just, one of the things that I found interesting. Now also, I've been educated a little bit more on what Ethereum is going to do.
Real clever way of getting a penny stock covered here on this show. I look, sometimes you just gotta admit it. You gotta tip your hat, and you were able to sneak that one in. You didn't even mention the price. You mentioned something that we knew from being connected to Dan Ives. You asked 13 first, so he didn't give you the runaround on it. That was very clever. I'm impressed. All right, 13. All jokes aside here, is there anything else that you want to take a look at real fast? Any stock, any mover? I'm going to step away for a sec here too.
Sure. Last week there was a question about data centers, and particularly out here in Texas, and how they are going to be able to cool those data centers, because this is one of the things that we have been talking about recently with our governor and him kind of pushing back and requiring audits now for new data center buildouts. And when it comes to Fermi America in particular, they're going to be using a closed loop hybrid dry wet cooling tower system. That is going to be provided by MVM EGI, and that's a Hungarian company. And as I was looking into this, I thought, well, are these other data centers trying? Well, let me back up real quick. This is actually like I said, a closed loop system. So it's going to use roughly 80% less water consumption compared to the other systems that are being used. So there is a very, very clear initiative here to prevent water usage that would really be a massive drain on the state. And the other thing is that depending on where these are built, you're going to be subject to more dry spell or drought conditions than others. Like, for example, out in Houston and in Austin, for now, we're not experiencing drought-like conditions compared to some other parts of the state that are drier. We've actually had some significant rainfall. We've got lakes filling up, especially in Austin with Lake Travis. That's near 100% full. So it's going to matter where these things are built too. Fermi's being built in I believe it was Amarillo, which is more drought condition prone. I would say. But the answer to your question was those wet dry cooling towers using less water consumption. It's still going to likely be a challenge, but one other company, since I was trying to look into this, that does the same kind of technology is SPX Technologies. Their ticker is SPXC. This isn't the one that's being used for Fermi. I don't know if they're being used for another company, but this is one of the ones that came up that uses that dry-wet hybrid cooling tower system. So, and they've been actually performing really well. And this company's been, they just had earnings at the end of last month. They raised their guidance. There's B. Riley's calling for 285 a stock. Truist thinks it's worth 301. So on that question, we have a potential theme here for different types of cooling systems for data centers. And this is one that came up with that specific type of closed loop wet-dry hybrid system. Were
you still on Fermi for that?
No, I was mentioning the SPXC company that was one of the names that popped up.
SPXC.
SPXC.
Sorry.
It's okay.
A lot of confusing ones in there.
Yeah. And as I was saying, this is involved in cooling and ventilation, heating for industrial use. And this is one of the names that came up for cooling systems for data centers. And they look like they're doing pretty good. So.
Okay. All right. We got 8 minutes till we open here. LGHL is being mentioned here by Billy. That's a micro floater with news. I don't see it on here yet, but let's take a look. It's another penny stock. You guys, this is Lion Group Holding, though. That's why I recognize it. Lion Group Holding. The last ticker, the confusing one on Popular Truth. Sorry about that. SPXC. Sierra Papa X-Ray Charlie.
Yep.
That should help you out there with that. Very close to SpaceX, so be careful.
Good point. This one here, this is an HRT financial trade.
LGHL, you mean?
Yeah, just look at the news feed. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in this thing.
Oh yeah.
Just keep going. They go on for a little while. They love this one.
I think actually this might have been the stock that we first started discussing that.
Possibly.
All right, you guys just unrelenting today. Continue to ask about penny stocks. So Lucy, I guess. Okay, technically Bob.
Look. We like Lucy. We like Lucy. It's fine. I know it's a penny stock, but it's fine. This is one of those companies that I've been, kind of enthusiastic about because I really want to see technology in like wearable technologies thrive. And this is one, such a company. They do the eyewear. It's similar to the Meta glasses. So, I'm interested to see what this one can do because, especially if it's going to be a competitor to Meta, I would love to see Meta's competitors, take them down a peg. But let's see, they're expanding into more stores. It looks like this is the news here, and they also have formed an alliance for commercialization in the U.S.
Okay.
So a couple of interesting headlines there, but this is one that I hope does well. And
yeah,
financials.
This is one that we've talked about and looked at, but for whatever reason, and I'm just kind of going by feel, for whatever reason, this thing, I feel like it can't really hold whatever move it does. Like, look at this back from July, beginning of July. We actually had a pretty decent move here. We gave it back. Half the month, we were right back to where we started. So just keep that in mind here with Lucy. I think we all kind of want some of this wearable tech to be awesome and have it work. I know I do, for the purpose of golf. Yeah. So I get it, but just be careful. Just be careful.
This one teetering on that $5 million market capitalization.
Yeah. Now, Acorns, you're asking about Apple. I guess we could go ahead and chart up Apple here real quick. The big thing with Apple, we've kind of talked about this being more of like a safety trade for some of the AI play. Now, with the NASDAQ being down 0.63% here, Apple is higher in the pre-market by $1.50. So it seems to me that the safety trade here, or at least so far with Apple, is holding up. But here's what the daily chart looks like. Sorry, I didn't have it scrolled over there. Here's what the daily chart looks like. Controversial take here. I think that this move down here on earnings was actually really good for the stock. Let me explain. We made an unbelievable move, like a power move from the dip to the 100. This was basically straight up. I know that there are a couple of red candles in here, but for all intents and purposes, this was straight up to a rather aggressive and steep trend line. We had the earnings, the thing dropped on earnings, and since then, it's basically been consolidating and jostling around its 50-day moving average. Shout out to the one attempt to break above the 20, couldn't close above it. Now we're kind of back in here. My thought on this is that, this kind of tempered some of that upside momentum that led to that really nice move higher. And the fact that it's come in and held this area also tells me that this thing probably wants to trade higher here in the near future. Now, if this breaks and the whole situation changes, okay, the whole situation changes, at least gives you something to look at. But the way that it's been trading so far, and especially now where it is literally at the highs not in sympathy, relatively to the NASDAQ, which is actually down 0.5% today, I think that this bodes well on Apple. 13, do you have anything else that jumps out from you, or jumps out to you, from the chart?
Yeah, I would probably want to see this test 300 one more time.
Okay.
It's not looking particularly strong at the moment. It's caught between the 50 and 20-day SMA. It's still getting support from the weekly 20 SMA, which I think is one that is certainly going to have to hold up if we are going to go higher, like you were saying. So if we do get that test of that 20-week, that takes it down to like 300 and then bounces back, I think that would be a great setup for going higher. But it's also looking like you've got some pretty tough resistance up around 320, 315 to 320. I can't really. There has to be some other catalyst, I think, that's going to take this thing further. But I would prefer that this come back in and give us another, one more test of 300. That'll give us a triple bottom. Yep. And then we could go on to recapture 320. That may or may not happen, but I think that's what I would prefer to see at this point.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. And also keep in mind here, my opinion on Apple is almost always going to be one that's of the bullish note. I've been a long-term holder of the stock. It's easily the best trade that I've ever made in my life. I also made the trade for my mom and helped her out. I know I've talked about that quite a bit, but just understand where my bias actually lies when I'm taking a look at the chart. I can't help it. As long as you know it, you can make educated decisions off of it. And I bring 13 in here to sanity check me on pretty much everything. By the way, y'all don't know this, but I'll just throw this out there. 13 ends up sanity checking me on a lot of stuff when we were not even on air. So that's like a common thing for him. Also, I wanted to mention here, we've been talking about AAOI a lot this morning. 13, one of the things that I've been saying here is on the back of this for a potential trade, we have this really nice pre-market sideways formation here. So a breakout or breakdown might set up a trade here. I just wanted to draw attention to it because right ahead of the open, we are basically at the low of that range. So if you're looking to trade AAOI, maybe keep this one on your radar. And Kush League here. T2 with the GTA 6 leak drama. 13, shout out to you. You sent me some videos on. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought about this over the weekend for a little bit. I could absolutely see some of these leaks really damaging the stock. I'm just not sure it's going to happen. I know we have less than a minute here. Do you have anything on this that you want to talk about? Ticker TTWO.
It may not be just them. It might also be Sony too. They have really, we're open. They're really pissing a lot of their customers off, their gamers. There is actually a boycott happening right now against logging on to Sony or Sony services. That's supposed to last a week. We'll see if that ends up happening, but they have pissed off their customer base, both Sony and now Take-Two. And I don't think this is going to end particularly well for either one of them, but I don't think it's going to kill their companies either.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for those not following the drama, like 13 and I and several in the chat here, the TLDR on what's going on is that the biggest video game in history, at least by hype, is set to be released pretty soon. And a hacker group has not only leaked out scenes of the actual game, but there's rumors that they actually have a full build of the game that they might spoil everything for. Yeah. So. And I mean, Rockstar's, really gambling with this here because they don't think that it's going to impact them that much. And I think they need to be listening to their customer base. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say,
this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that they will lose money over. Yeah. And if it ends up leaking out and people end up playing it, what's to say that these pre-orders don't get canceled?
There could be a huge monetary happening from all of this. By the way, folks, we are open. AAOI straight down, SPY straight down. That went through VWAP. S&P futures basically couldn't get through VWAP and are moving lower. NASDAQ is doing the same thing. The Dow's bucking the trend, however. Dow is back into the positives and near the high of day here after Monday's open.
S dot is up. It's back up through VWAP, coming up to a bit of a trend. Here from the highs, like the 2550 high. It looks like we're going to try and break higher into the 25 handle. Jeez, and then it just does it. We got pretty close there. We're not at 25 yet.
We're right at the trend line, guys.
It went right to 24, I can't snap, just like that. And it's now it's losing altitude.
Yep. Okay. So it got rejected right at the trend line. We'll check back in here in a sec. DAIC. This is just ripping out of the open here, up 200%. We'll see if there's any news on this. This is a penny stock that has now moved into dollar territory. I don't see any news on this. Looks like this is a ripper. No news. DAIC.
Micro float, market cap under $1 million. This one may have, I don't know if it's got any NASDAQ compliance issues, but it could be. Let me look here. Yes. Trading lower, the company announced a additional NASDAQ listing deficiency and loan default. That was from last week. So I think, let me look at the chart, because if this thing got hammered down all week last week, this could just be, some kind of a squeeze or relief rally.
13, just so you're aware, if I get up mysteriously, don't panic. I adopted a new animal and she is a handful today. So it is what it is. XPON, by the way, this came in back towards the VWAP, couldn't quite get support there and is bouncing. We talked about 10 being a key level if it gets back up there. Something to watch. Yeah. By the way, Tesla, some of these tech names pulling. Velo's pulling, Ondas is pulling, Palantir is pulling, Tesla is pulling, Apple is pulling, Netflix is pulling, and Bitcoin also coming off of its high. So is this just a temporary pullback, or is this the start of a bigger move down? We shall see.
When it comes to DAIC, this one shot up right to the 50-day SMA on my chart here in Pro. But I think that's kind of what we're seeing here is that this thing was just, getting pummeled, pretty much for the past couple of months. And I guess today somebody decided, hey, I'm going to pick this thing up, take it for a ride because it's a very, very low float. It's almost worth about $500,000. AOI just hit 103.
Yeah, AOI, Big B's. This was a great call on this out of the open. You were saying it looked like this was going to go lower. This has moved straight down. We got no back test, by the way. So that little kind of short setup that we talked about in the pre-market didn't even set up, just went straight down.
Well, I mean, this is going down to our trend line, right? Yeah, we're almost at the 200-day SMA.
There. And for those of you folks who asked, here you go. I introduce you to Zadie, new member of the household here, and she is an absolute handful, and she is exploring everything. So there you go, Janie. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll see if that's the only appearance that she's going to make on stream. 13, sorry about that. Back down to brass tacks here.
It's Sadie?
Zadie with a Z.
Zadie. Okay.
Z-A-D-I-E. Okay, SK Hynix getting mentioned here by Liam. Let's actually take a look at some of the other memory names here. SK Hynix straight down. That was down in the pre-market, down out of the open. Micron, same deal. Down in the pre-market, down out of the open. Here's what SanDisk looks like. All of these names doing the exact same thing right now.
About time.
So there we go. We're getting that pullback. Apple, by the way, started to bounce. Netflix started to bounce. Palo Alto started to bounce. Palantir looks like it might have slowed down here. SpaceX, interestingly enough, straight up out of the gate here today.
Up after, it looked like they were down earlier. Oh, we finally had the 50-day SMA show up.
Oh, on SpaceX, yeah.
Now,
PH, Cyberpunk, this was an issue from last week.
Okay, so if SpaceX is going to climb up here, there is, some levels we can look at. 140 certainly stands out.
mRNA, by the way, this came back in too, so this is kind of pulling back. I'm interested to see where this settles. 13, let me go back to that SpaceX chart. I'll put it on the big chart for you here.
Oh, and last week I was talking about how they completed their static test fire for Starship. So that rolled off the pad. That's being inspected, and then tonight they're going to be, well, not the pad, but Massey's. And then tonight they're going to roll the booster out and set that up on the orbital launch mountain. They're going to have a static test fire with that this week, ahead of the launch that's supposed to happen by the end of this week. So I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to be able to turn all this around. It's going to be a very, very short time frame for them to get this going.
And 13, you were absolutely correct. Last week, you were kind of foreshadowing how busy this week is going to be. I already talked about the NVIDIA earnings. We also talked about the Jackson Hole. Now we're talking about some of these SpaceX events. A lot of stuff happening here this week. So it should be a good one.
Yep.
Should be a good one. By the way,
GDP on
that's
Wednesday.
Right. Oh, man, I'm sorry. You know what? That's my own fault. I forgot to go over that. Thank you, 13. Great reminder.
And now Lucy getting support from the VWAP. It dropped down there out of the gate. Now it's climbed back over $1. It just hit 110. Trying to hold the dollar here, but all I see to the upside from here to 125 is a lot of sellers. So if we get some, continue to see volume expand, we may be able to get through all that. But there's a lot of supply above the current price.
And by the way, SPY here, look where that bounce took place. We basically traded right down out of the open to the pre-market low and bounced. This now going to be one of your key levels here for today. Let's call it 763 even. The Qs did something similar, although those look like they might still be hunting for a lower level here. Let me put that on screen for you. Indeed, that did break the pre-market low. Tech coming in a little bit more while SPY's trying to hold.
S dot is, I still think this was, worth keeping an eye on here. It looks like it's trying to set up to go higher and break this, this trend that we have that you've got marked off there. It's taken a bit, but it's still looking like we're trying to get through this trend line here. And I kind of like the way the MACD is looking like it's trying to, turn around here. So we'll see if it can hold above VWAP. It just lost it a moment ago, but and volume's starting to fade a bit. But we'll see what happens here. It's a good setup, but we just need that volume component.
Okay, we'll see if we get it. Looks like my chat has stopped streaming, so I'm going to try and load the actual chat itself here. I don't know if that's the case, but let me get a word.
It's bloody out there, says Barb and Electric.
Yeah, it's bloody out there is the last thing that I had to. No, the chat definitely froze. Okay, I'll take care of this. I'm sorry about this. I'll get a workaround going for us so we can still participate with you guys. Just give me one sec here. 13. Boy, the sell-off's still happening here in AAOI. That's through 103 to the downside.
Yeah, hey, give us 100. It's around 100. Sorry, go ahead.
Jay saying, looks like a rotation day. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, all green, but the semis are weak. And you're absolutely right about Apple. That has now above the pre-market high. That was a very quick dip.
All right, let me go back to Apple.
S-Dot still under that trend line. LGHL fell beneath the VWAP, and it looks like it got rejected at that VWAP. Someone called Capper earlier, CAPR, that spiked up to 9, retraced the entire move. What a nasty move that is.
Yeah, I mean, for Apple, it's just going to be the same thing. 50-day, 20-day, both those SMAs are where the price has been trading in between. We start closing under one of those. I know we got to close underneath the 50 on Friday, but we're back above it right now. So I need to see some consistent closing above or below one of these moving averages, and then we'll be like, hey, this is the direction it's likely headed.
The Dow is still trying to march higher, and also the SPY is still trying to bounce from this pre-market low. What do you have?
S-Dot, we're getting it. We're getting it.
Up right through the trend line. So Westcap says he's looking for something to short. Westcap, what do you have your eye on so far?
And then if you can back out a little bit from that 5-minute chart, and you see that peak from Friday,
you sure do.
Peak from the pre-market. So if we can get past that trend line that you have up there, this is going to be the next target we want to get hit, and that's going to take us into the 26 handle from at this stage.
Yeah, I have that right up there. 2630 is about 13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So far this is working out pretty good. If we hit our $26 area, that'd be even better. And then if we get past this longer trend line we just drew, we'll look at that. We'll look for some other targets. But so far, S-Dot, nice little trade there this morning. And Lucy just has been popping and dropping this morning, but still holding VWAP for the moment. And what else?
You guys are so nice.
Giving the kitty love.
Yeah, it's just, it makes me so happy. I don't want to waste too much time with the story, but the story is just something else. We'll do that some other time. Moderna here. So I think several of you folks were asking about Moderna. This actually looks like it's still trying to trace lower. Let me ask the group a different question here on Moderna. Let's approach this a different way. Let's assume we do keep pulling back. Do we maybe kind of look at this 115 possible floating island here? Do we look at one of the trend lines that we've had? Is there another moving average that maybe I'm not looking at? Where do we think the mRNA possible support area is after the rather huge move that we saw last week? I can actually go to the bigger chart here that has more of the SMAs on it so we can kind of get an idea. I'll tell you what though, 13, look at this. This is the parallel channel, I think, that you had me draw. Mm-hmm. Didn't you have me draw that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So to me, just kind of looking at this chart in the near term here, it looks like this 115, then the top of that channel at 102. I'd probably have to go back into here, maybe the consolidation area there at 104. But God, that kind of lines up with the channel. Yeah, you folks will have to let me know where you think Moderna could find some support. Doty says 80.
I mean, I'm just laughing because it's like, a big drop from here. I see 120 being the closest support level. If you draw like a line at 120 and go and look at like a weekly chart, you can see that back in May and April of 22, that was support. We did end up losing it in July of 23. That was resistance at that point, and we blasted through it in May of 2024, lost it again in July of 24. So I think that has been a frequent support and resistance area down at 120. And if we come back in some more, that's where I would expect to get some stronger support than we're getting right now.
Okay, and then I like the I like this here as well. G-Man says Moderna support 125.38. That is a
Perfect.
stone's throw from the 120 level we just took a look at. 13.
Yep, I like it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go back to the main workspace here. Looks like we did have a move lower on SPY, so we did have a break of structure to the downside here on SPY. Excuse me, this took out its pre-market low here. Look at that. If we go back to the daily chart, this is what it looks like. Sure looks like we might be coming back in a little bit more here.
No, Cody. I'm sorry, Dodie. I was saying it was a big drop. To go from here down to 80 would be a big drop. That's why I was chuckling. But yeah, it did have a big pop too. You're right.
The robot killer, did the bot take any trades? No, not yet. And I have a new strategy that I'm trying here that based on Friday. We had a lot of stocks that dipped out of the open and then very quickly recovered. And I looked at all of the intraday charts and they all had a break of structure right at the bottom. So the stock came in, put in a bottom, and then broke that bottoming structure and bounced higher. I'm going to see if I can get the bot to kind of identify and trade that. No promises yet. We'll see how that goes. No trades yet today.
I've only traded SDOT. It's been the one that's been providing the best price action, and we had that the trend line set up. It just needs more volume, and then this could go much higher. But still finding some resistance up towards the in the 25 handle.
Look at this Tesla move. So if you recall on Friday, there was a ton, and I mean an absolute ton, and it lasted majority of the day. There was zero DTE sweeping on Tesla. This thing was straight up out of the gate. It basically melted higher into the close. Today, the opposite of that. In fact, we've retraced 80% of this move. We are basically almost back to a round trip down here.
Yeah, I think 360 is one of the levels I was looking at for this to go to. Now that we've hit it, we can come back in. And the support, I would say, is probably going to be down around 325, 330. It may get some support earlier than that, maybe 350. But I think 325 to 330 is where we come down to for support.
TikTok news. What was the TikTok news? Does that play into anything we could be trading? Let me know what that is.
TikTok news on what?
He's just saying TikTok news. I'm asking for some more details. I have the same questions that you do. Marcus, good morning, Marcus. It's always great to see you. SpaceX up, Tesla down. Is that a thing yet? I'm kind of wondering the same thing, Marcus.
It probably is in reference to mRNA because that's what he was talking about.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
XPON might. It looks like it's starting to make a move again. It might go into a halt. Actually, we just had a nice reversal candle there 5 minutes earlier. Is it going to go into a halt? Nope, not yet. But it looks like it's still trying to. And you halted? No. There you are.
Yep, there it is. Halt time on this one, 9:47:47. TikTok allowed under age 13 to download and faces a court fines up to $400 million. That was the TikTok news.
Oh, okay. So it's specifically TikTok then. Gotcha.
Okay.
I thought there was like a TikTok of another company.
No, I got it. I see. I understand. Lily here, Lion, saying Lily is ready to pop. So Lily dropped out of the open, did find some support down here at about 1235 ish. We'll see if this pops here.
That doesn't
Gold
look
continues
ready
to move higher. What?
That doesn't look ready to pop. It looks ready looks like it's about to take its next leg lower.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it bounced off the low from Friday, and it's just kind of like a dead cat bounce. Now, interestingly enough, go ahead.
It might turn around after you get this next leg down, but I think there's some more downside coming before you get this reversal that's going to take it back up.
Now, on the flip side here, AAOI, we'll see. One of the things I'd really like on this is for a recapture of VWAP. Great that it's bouncing right here. Not quite at VWAP. Hasn't recaptured it yet. We'll see. By the way, SPY is bouncing again as well. Actually really impressed with the bot because when this broke the structure here, it actually did not take this trade because it did not meet some of the criteria there. It was still kind of a neutral edge, and now it's bouncing back here. That would have been a very quick stop out, so glad that worked. Now, with SPY bouncing back here, the level to pay attention to is about 20 cents higher than where we're at. 763.58 is going to be your VWAP so far. SPY not strong enough to recapture that. You guys are mentioning that NVIDIA dropped and continues to drop ahead of its earnings here. I see NVIDIA calls getting bought, but not aggressive like we saw last week. More NVIDIA calls, some puts as well.
It is approaching the 20-week SMA. That's going to be at the 208.93. I think that's the support to watch. If we lose that, and by lose I mean we start closing underneath it, 200 is going to be coming up, I think.
Retro says, Ryan, you need to forward me any questions you have for Warsh when the Fed meeting starts here. I'm not sure what hotels he's at, but I'm at the Mountain Ridge. I hope that, Retro, for the sake of the entire group watching here, I hope that somehow you bump into him and somehow you're able to talk to him. I would just want to hear what he has to say and how he is in person. That would be something else. I hope oh gosh, please give that to us. And if we can break an exclusive story, not against that either. Just saying. And the cat is stealing more of the bird's food. I've never seen this in my life. That is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I should probably go take care of that. I'll be right back. 13.
All right. Meanwhile, I'm just waiting to see if we're going to get this move up to 26 in SDOT. That we did get as high as 25.90. Trying to hold on to these levels here above 23, but volume is looking a little bit less than what we were getting before. So if we don't hold VWAP, then we're probably going to have to go look at something else. But we're still above it for now. BTCT, that's been leaking. Lucy still trying to hold VWAP. XPON still halted. AAOI looks like that's under 103 now. Looking for some support. Give us that 100. Give us that 100.
And I think you were exactly right on that call there, by the way, 13, because you said that this kind of looked like a dead cat may re-challenge the lows. There we go. Was it this one or was it? I thought it was another one that was looking weak, like it was going to take the next leg down. It might have been. I thought it was a different one. By the way, speaking of taking the next leg down, we talked about SpaceX maybe diverting from Tesla. Look at SpaceX. Oh, my heavens. What a turnaround.
All right. So now we are beneath the IPO price again.
Yep.
Which is fine. Come on in. Come on in. Next 7% tranche that gets unlocked is going to be on September 7th. It's a Monday, and that is going to be their 90-day tranche that gets unlocked.
Interesting. That's the week football starts. Not that it matters, but
and then after that, it's 15 days. Every 15 days, there's going to be another 7% tranche until October 19th, which is the final tranche that gets unlocked. And then there's going to be, and that's just of the staggered tranches. There's other shares are going to be unlocked later. But I don't think there's going to be any more unlocked prior to Q3 other than those tranches we just mentioned.
Bitcoin, by the way, that came in from its morning highs, but it's not breaking down. It actually just kind of looks like a little bit of a pullback. Nothing necessarily to get too excited about yet.
XPON is open. It did pop up to the session high, the regular session high, which was 890. Still ran into some resistance there. So given a little bit more volume, we may see a push through the pre-market high of 999. Maybe it gets it here.
And that's SDOT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real quick here, Lion says, here's maybe a question from Lion. I'll kind of take Lion's comment and form it into a question, Retro. If I had a chance to talk to him, I would tell him, do me a favor, can you break the money printing machine? That way it stops printing money. Honestly, that's not a terrible idea. I know you had said you were going to ask about the debt. They're just going to tell you they're going to grow your way out of it. But Lion, if you could somehow sabotage the money printing machine, that would probably benefit us. XPON is open, you guys were mentioning? That probably opened a while ago.
Well, I said that it had popped
Yeah.
up to 890, or it was actually 888. The regular session high, and still running into resistance there. And I just was saying that if we get more volume, like more of the volume we were seeing at the open, we may be able to get back up to that 999 pre-market high, maybe even further than that. So I think right now it's just a matter of getting enough volume here with XPON.
By the way, SPY is trying to recapture its VWAP. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but it is bouncing. We'll see if it's able to recapture it. Ryan Milligan asking a pretty good discussion topic, I feel like. Ryan Milligan says, how well does NVIDIA need to do to react positively after earnings? They seem to always beat, but they're rarely green afterwards, and I prefer it being down going into Wednesday rather than running into it. Ryan, let me take the second part of that first. First of all, I completely agree with you. I would much rather have NVIDIA not run into the earnings. We've actually seen that plenty with NVIDIA. We've seen it sell off after that. The first part of what you're saying, there was another interesting part. I am expecting them to beat the number. Does that mean that the stock trades higher the day after? I don't think that's a given either. We've actually seen them smoke the number and trade down on that. So I guess I'd turn this to the group. 13, we'll start with you here. Would you rather NVIDIA have kind of a weak week? Yeah, a weak week going into Thursday just to kind of maybe get us, or does it not matter to you? Do you not care?
Well, I mean, one of the things we've discussed pretty frequently with regard to NVIDIA is how in this particular quarter that they were going to report, they have a seasonality as of like the past several years where they've run up into this earnings that we're waiting for here, and they've either gone sideways or they've sold off afterwards, and that's just been consistent over the past few years now. So if we do end up running into that number, we turn around today and go higher tomorrow, I still think that could end up happening. That's kind of what I'm anticipating with this one, is that there could be some more sideways or lower price action following the earnings print, just based on the seasonality alone.
Okay. Let me keep getting the NVIDIA predictions this week. That's going to be one of the big things this week. I can't wait to see how it works. I'd like to hear what you all think is going to happen. XPON, good mention here. Jacob, this is halted to the downside. Yeah. It is worth noting that downside halt also took us through the VWAP to the downside.
Yeah, and you got support coming up as early as 7, but it looks stronger right down at 650. SDOT though, printing $27 now, and it is through is in the 26 handle right now, looking to get on the other side of the trend line. We had the larger one we had drawn earlier.
And DAIC, the penny stock that went to dollar territory, is now halted to the upside, 441% to the upside, halted 231 here. So between SDOT and DAIC, you gunslingers out there must be having a day.
Nice shooting, Tex.
Nice shooting, Tex. Oh, that's good.
Have we been watching? It looks like the chat is working again, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It is. Go ahead.
The SECZ, I've been watching SECZ lately. What do you guys think?
Is that the Sezzle ETF? No, this is Securitized Holdings. So I'm not familiar with this. Let me see what this does here real quick.
It's like a new issue, like a recent IPO. Looks like it was just IPO'd in July.
Platform for tokenized real-world assets, including the tokenizing real-world assets like funds, equities, and fixed income on blockchain networks. So this is part of the theme. I don't know much about this individually. Corey, is this one that you've uncovered in any of your research? I know you've been looking into the tokenization theme that we talk about quite a bit. Have you come across SECZ?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a massive beneficiary of that crypto. The Clarity Act.
Clarity Act, yeah.
Yeah, because this is one of the things we've been mentioning. This is the reason why I've been saying, NDAC is great, because they're going to benefit from all the token securitization. So yeah, this could be great. I don't know enough about it. It looks like they just had a massive earnings loss. But if that Clarity Act passes, I think this could be go gangbusters.
Okay, I had asked for your NVIDIA predictions this week, and Lion has not disappointed. Ryan, I feel NVIDIA is going to under-deliver and is going to tank the market. So there you go. That to me seems like the earnings expectation is either A, going to miss, or just B, simply not be all that good and is actually going to move lower. But you're going a step further, thinking it's going to bring other stocks lower. Now, I'm not going to rule that out. We've talked a lot about kind of waiting up for this NVIDIA print. We'll see. Is that the black swan that tanks everything? We'll see. That's coming up here.
I mean, I don't know what they're gonna say that's gonna, be so bad. I mean, how have they been performing over the past, year? And are they continuing to beat estimates? Because until that changes, yeah, and you're right, Corey. Everything will be tokenized eventually, but until that changes, seems like they could still climb higher. But as I was saying before, with the seasonality, this seems like one of the quarters where they are going to either go sideways or lower. So, and that could be the case until after the midterms. And then once the midterms are gone, then this might start trading better again.
I'm not trading SECZ yet, but that doesn't mean it's not a good trade. Corey, I'd be curious if you come up with anything on this particular issue in your research. It's safe to say I haven't yet, but if you come up with anything, I'd love if you shared that with the group. That'd be phenomenal. Let's see. Lucy's at the top of my scanner list. This came all the way back into $1, it looks like, though. It just came back in from its highs of 110. This might not be done. This has actually held its VWAP. Apple is pushing higher, and Amazon is pushing higher. Actually, this is awesome. The bot grabbed some Amazon on this move. So here's Amazon. Where's Izzy at today? Is he out there? Amazon looks like a 263 test coming here. Jay says, I'm going to take the other side, just like CoreWeave. Negative reaction the last five times until this quarter. NVIDIA is 4. I think it's higher this time. Interesting, Jay. Okay. Is that just the contrarian in you, or is there something else that maybe leads into that thesis?
Yeah, Webcoin, I don't think anybody really should be ever going in that for a long-term position. It's easily the day trade vehicle and nothing more. And yes, you're right. It is close to being delisted. I think we even pointed out the NASDAQ compliance and the debt loan default.
By the way, here, folks, the market does seem to be firming up. The Dow never chilled. That kept trading up. It looks like the SPY is trying to bounce. The NASDAQ is doing its best. It is not there yet, but it is doing its best. Amazon did briefly pop above 263.
SDOT has been the best one this morning, just not a red candle in sight since the open. It might start to put one in soon, but it has just had not a single red candle this entire morning.
Congrats to you SDOT traders out there.
Yep.
Market Sniper says if SDOT breaks 28, which it might be flirting with here, we could see 35. So Market Sniper, how did you get to 35? Just out of curiosity, but there's another upside target. There's 28.
Yep, 28.48. And let's see his target, because we're getting into into an area where there's that heavy some heavy consolidation. And if you look, I don't even know if it's just going to look the same on the pro chart, but every time we've been up here in the past year, it looks like there's been some pretty tough resistance, particularly as soon as we get into the 30 handle. So now I'm not saying we're going to get rejected and go back down, but it looks to me like if we do get to 30, we could see some selling pressure kick in. It's going to be tough to get to get the 35, given the supply. Not saying it's impossible, but given the supply, it looks like we may see some back and forth on the way up there if we get up there.
SDOT is just still screaming high. I haven't even taken this off the screen because it's still screaming higher.
Yeah.
Lions is getting a put for NVIDIA. Jay thinks it might go higher. Let's see which one we get.
And yeah, NPower is doing good today. Yeah. Having a nice day there on that one. What else? Apple headed to 313, 20-day SMA, according to G-Man. Does NVIDIA still move the market to the downside? Does not impact it on the upside as much anymore for the last 9 to 12 months. Well, I think there's been a little bit more diversification, and some other names have really run. I think that you did see some rotation out of that, and I think I would agree. It still has a significant market pull, but not as much as it used to.
All right. The bot stopped on that Amazon trade to not let it go red. And it took a new trade on 3M. Ryan, I've been hunting lately and I smell blood everywhere. BTCT, putting it on the screen now, 13, sorry.
It just started blasting off.
Yeah, it did. And that happened on volume. Look at the corresponding volume stick.
S.30, 3035. Now, we might actually finally get a red candle here in S.dot. And if we do, I'd like to see a back test of that trend line. It would take us down to just under 27. But if we get that support there, then I think that really does set us up to get through that consolidation I was mentioning earlier. Is your bird getting upset at the cat eating?
No, the bird's in another room. The bird's listening to other bird sounds. The bird is like safe and like I'm sure feels great about it. The cat, though, is just, boy, this thing has. Hang on a sec, 13.
Okay. And, Samel, if you got misses this morning, in situations like this is where I would personally be sitting on my hands. If I've got 3 misses in a day, I'm done. I don't want to, risk any more. I want to come back tomorrow refreshed and ready to go. So we do get some days like that. I don't want to keep throwing money at a bad situation. Hopefully you've got yourself a plan as well.
S.dot, let's see if it backtests the trend line here after that move through it. This actually might set up.
Perfect. It just did it. Sorry to interrupt, but it just did.
No, that's all good.
So we'll see if we hold this trend line here. And if we do and we start turning around, then it worked. And it worked.
Christoph says 3 losses and I'm done. Christoph, I am sorry about that, but I do like the discipline. Tomorrow is another day.
That's admirable. Absolutely. If you guys, are not having a great day and you've already got some losses booked, it's just like, okay. I realize that.
Don't make it worse.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it worse. Exactly. Yeah.
Don't make problems worse. That's for sure.
Continue to nibble on GLW. How's Corning? Drones being shot down. It seems like a lot of the theme names are kind of weak today. Okay, so S.dot still getting support from that trend line. That was great. We'll see if this can continue to hold up here. Probably needs another candle or two, another 5-10 minutes before we get the next move.
Here's Micron. So these memory names, these look like these are still trading lower here. Here's SanDisk. We also took a look at SK Hynix earlier. SanDisk maybe has bottomed.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jay. Retail names, consumer-facing names, those are having a good morning. Out of tech into the back, you either have the AI trade or you have the consumer trade. And now we're going to the consumer trade for today, or at least the morning. So let's see, how's KHC?
Bitcoin's trying to bounce, so we'll see if that sets some new highs. Maybe give some more bullishness to the crypto names. Which one were you looking at?
I'm just looking at the consumer names. So I was looking at KHC, Clorox. What's another one?
Tyson, which is one we've talked about. Yep.
Tyson's up slightly. Dollar General doing fine.
What's interesting is that this KHC chart, this kind of looks like the Dow chart where it just kind of ran up out of the open, but it's since been pulling back. This is actually what the 3M chart looks like, although that's still green here. My bot did take this, so we'll see if this goes back into the green. We had talked about Tyson. Let's take a quick look at TSN. That's still holding on. All of these look the same. It looks like they popped a little bit and came back in a little bit.
Jay's asking us about this biotech company called Caris Life Sciences.
What's the CAI?
Mm-hmm.
CAI. Yep.
Next generation AI tech bio company. Okay, so already that's interesting.
And we've talked about this AI biotech medical theme really kind of taken off recently. At least one to keep your eye on.
And they are dual listed now on the NYSE Texas. They've got some pretty good insider buying here by one of the directors, buying 68,000 shares at 14.56. It just had earnings beats, guidance raises. Looks interesting here. And if we just had this conversation last week about AI benefiting mainly two sectors the most, healthcare and financial. So I think it's a great idea. Look at the financials in this thing here. What are they? Okay, so they've been back and forth with profitability. Their last quarter was kind of break even. They've got cash. They don't have a whole lot of debt relative to their earnings. The current portion of debt they're dealing with is only $6.5 million, though they have about 445 in longer term debt. It's very interesting. I like it.
This is still CAI, right? Up 30's asking for the ticker. That's a Charlie Alpha India as your tickers there. By the way, on the whole like consumer name here, Home Depot, this and Lowe's reported last week. Home Depot actually looks a little bit better here this week. Lowe's, same deal, up over 1%. So these names may be providing some safety there.
One more thing on CAI. This is getting pretty extended, or it is extended. I see that it is at an area where it's facing resistance, and that's going to be from about 25.50 to call it 30. Just looks like a little bit of a tough area for it to get to. So I could see this coming back in a little bit, maybe to 24 or a little bit lower than that, in order to cool off. But we are making it's setting up for a golden cross here in the coming weeks. So it's very interesting, but I think there is going to have to be a period, like maybe several days, where this trades lower in order to cool off.
See if there's anything else on the list here that's kind of catching my eye. The Bitcoin names all seem to be trading with higher volume. That chart, the price of Bitcoin is actually bouncing pretty nicely here. BMNR, I know this tracks Ethereum, but this is basically back up towards the highs. BTCT, which we talked about, that spike that kind of came out of nowhere, that went higher here. That went to 2. In fact, register rings for anyone that was on BTCT, especially post-halt. How's PUR doing? That was another mover that we saw last week. That's PURR. That's Hyperliquid. How's that doing here today? Interesting. This really hasn't moved a whole lot. Maybe it's just kind of holding in there after the move last week. Lucy's still holding above $1. CYPH, this broke its pre-market high and is screaming towards $2.
Looks like AAOI got some support around 102.10. It's turning around. It's recaptured VWAP, but it has got a task and a half ahead of it, trying to get back above 108.
AAOI was not on my break of structure list. Oh, and that's why I'm missing this trade on that is a user error, folks. That is 100% my fault. And I'm worried about adding it because I don't want the bot to chase it. So I'm just going to take the L. That's my fault. I was like, look at this. This is what I was talking about, which we saw on Friday. These stocks that pull out of the open then give you this nice kind of structure here and then break it. A lot of them on Friday ended up trading back higher. So I'm trying to devise a method to kind of track it or to trade this. I didn't put this on the target list, though.
No problem, Jay. Thanks for bringing that one up. It's very interesting. I'm going to do some more work on it. BTCT still trying to put some new session highs in here.
Interesting. That disappeared off my scanner. I wonder why.
SDOT still holding that trend line. Maybe after this candle, there's one more where it needs to hold the trend line, and then the candle after that, we could see some further upside, but we got to hold that trend line.
BTC. Oh, it ticked down briefly. That's why it wasn't. It's still on there. Okay, got it. I understand.
CYPH.
Yeah.
Cypherpunk.
Yeah, we just took a look at that. And you know what? I'm guilty. I called it cyberpunk like 6 times. It's cypherpunk.
You're a gamer.
I mean, I guess it used to be at this point. Speaking of gamer, we talked about Take-Two right at the open. What has happened since then?
It dropped and then recovered.
Yeah, okay. So, but it's basically flat, so not a whole lot. So I am curious to see what ends up happening from this whole saga. No position, so it's easy for me to watch, but
it's absolutely hilarious to me because this is a company that's being very defiant about fighting its customers. I don't know that that's going to end well for them.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever a good decision.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad decisions, New Kitty makes a ton of bad decisions.
Okay, so just keeping an eye on SDOT here. Would still like to see one more candle, one more red candle, but if it wants to go ahead and start pushing higher, then sure, go for it. But I think it needs to hit this trend line one more time, in my opinion.
Lions penny stock, the junker, back under $1, under VWAP. This thing really needs to show us something before this is any type of decent trade. This looks poor. Just kind of going through the list here. Rumble's on the list. That's not really doing a whole lot of anything. PDD, how are we doing on PDD? Boy, this is basically unch after its earnings. I would not have guessed that. Yeah, Jay, let me ask you. So what do you make of the divergence between Bitcoin and the Qs?
I think you're just seeing Bitcoin get picked up alongside gold because you've been seeing a lot of fund managers say, hey, the trade is to drop the dollar and get into hard assets. And that's what you're seeing gold go. That's why you're seeing Bitcoin go. Interesting.
That almost tells me that if that's the case, that almost tells me that the view on Bitcoin is changing. Right? If you're comparing it with gold, it's always been said that it's the gold of crypto. Maybe that opinion is changing more widely.
It's funny because we did have this whole thing about Bitcoin is it's just ones and zeros, it's not real, and the younger guys going, gold is pointless. It's just not going to be the future of how we do finance. And now it seems to be that everybody's going, why not both? Like that commercial with the tacos. Why not both?
But Big B says that the Qs are curling. It kind of feels like it might happen, Big B's, but I would say that maybe not yet. I don't know. I think I want to see more to confirm that. Lion says, I think the fertilizer stocks come back, and that's happening after a brutal sell-off. FMC was one of those. I think we talked about Mosaic being one of those. FMC might have bottomed at 10.
I mean, yeah, it's you have MOS currently working on recapturing its 200-day SMA. It's actually the first time we've got the real body. Well, we still have a whole bunch of day left, but we're trading above it for the first time since March. And if we do close above it, I think we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on resistance levels up around maybe. I have a level of 29.25, but I think there's going to be some other levels prior to that as well. Like I see 26.30 being one, 27.20 is another one, the 500-day SMA. So we'll see. I mean, this has been putting in a nice 4-day move here after recovering from its recent bottom.
Retro saying fertilizer companies checked into the hotel yesterday. Are you serious, or is that like a joke? Am I missing something there? By the way, Bach did get stopped out of that 3M trade. So technically it's 50% today, 1 win, 1 loss, but the loss was slightly bigger. Apple's still at the highs. Netflix looks like it might go higher, and Costco looks like it might push new highs. Lion Atlas wants to check NTR. This is Nutrien Ltd, a Canadian company here. Is part of the fertilizer theme that you like, Lion? Yeah, this is a merger between Potash and Agrium. World's largest fertilizer producer by capacity, a Canadian company. Even on the back of the Canadian tariffs, this thing's screaming.
And it's funny because we had news on Thursday regarding fertilizer companies trading higher regarding the U.S. The Strait of Hormuz being open enough to have potash and nitrogen come through.
So Lion, you like this? Retro says, no joke, 3 buses came in. What? So like, are they doing work there? Is it a conference? Is there something we might learn? Like, I guess I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking about the agricultural side of things because that is, I think food and water are going to be very, very important, particularly next year. There's a huge crisis happening with the Colorado River fed states, the lower basin and the upper basin. There's 7 different states, California, Wyoming, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado. They all are at odds about how to manage the river's water, and that could have some serious implications for our agricultural industry because a lot of that water makes its way to farmers. And one of the problems is we are growing food not just for our nation, but apparently for the rest of the world too. And that's a big reason why we have such a water crisis is because we're growing these thirsty crops and then selling them because the rest of the world doesn't want to spend their natural resources growing it in their country. So we need to knock that off.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that almonds require like an obscene amount of water to grow.
Almonds, but it's alfalfa that I think is the big concern. That is a thirsty crop, and that's what's used for livestock feed.
Yeah.
And we grow it here and we bale it and we send it to other countries that just don't have the water to grow that kind of crop. I was mentioning last week. Remember how we had these different crises, and rare earth was one of them. That was 2025. This year it's oil. Next year it'll be water. That's the next crisis. Looks like S dot popped to 3160 and came back in. So still with what I was saying earlier about this area that it's now up to. It's going to be tough getting through it, and that's from 30 to 35. So there could be a lot of this back and forth if we're going to get through all that. Now, we may not, and if we're going to start to turn around, then the indication you're going to want to watch for is a loss of that trend line.
Okay. Yeah, almonds do take it obscene amount. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, Selena. That has been happening for years. Now, hold on, Bob, because that's the alfalfa sprouts had a massive recall. That's more, food for us, but not necessarily food
for the livestock. Yeah.
But yes, Selena, that is absolutely the case. We're probably going to see, more desalinization happen, but that's very expensive still. Water conservation efforts are going to. Yeah, it is the hottest topic. It's gonna be a big thing that we're gonna have to deal with here. I would say in the next 2 to 5 years.
SPY here. This is trying to bounce. We'll see if this recaptures the VWAP. Nikhil mentioning a slow bounce here on SPY, indeed, but we'll see if we're out of the woods yet. Bitcoin new highs. So that Bitcoin pull that took us to 78K, we're back above 79,600 on the futures. IBIT, Ethereum, BMNR, Mr. BitX, all at the top of the scanner list. Well, it has been a Bitcoin theme today, folks.
It's been a hard asset theme. I think you with the dropping of the dollar, you're going to be looking at more of the physical assets. So the cryptos, the golds, the silvers, the metals.
mRNA down 10% today. I'm actually not surprised that's pulling back after the just meteoric move that it made last week.
Looks like BTCT is just running into some resistance. If it holds, I'd say if it holds $2, we may still get some more upside here in BTCT. But of course, that one's tied to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes higher, then sure, this one will. S dot, we're just waiting. I mean, this thing has really started to slow down. S dot.
I think the early move happened, or the
I was just going to say, I think a lot of the good money to be made in this one may already be done. It's slowing down for now, but hey, with a lot of these names, it could come back later on in the day and rip even higher. We've seen a lot of that happen, and this is one that has a small enough float to where it could do that.
And I'll be honest with you, whoever said if we break 28, we might go to 35. I mean, we almost went to 32. So I know we didn't quite hit 35, but that's, we did go several points beyond 28 on that break. BMNR calls are still going off. Those are the 35s for January of next year, by the way.
And then there was like, what, $90 for 2028 January? Isn't that another one that was happening last week?
For which ticker?
BMNR.
For BMNR. Yeah, there was a huge one. That's right. That was that huge one last week. That was the big sweep.
So there you go. You may have some of these names quadruple in the next couple of years.
Okay, got 5 minutes left here, 13. A Monday on a what should be really important and busy week.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Just be ready, folks. Be ready for some volatility.
CTVA getting mentioned in the chat here.
What does this do? Oh, probably more fertilizer. Seed and crop protection products. So maybe not just fertilizer, but is it pesticides?
For CTVA?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what all their business segments do, but it looks like this is another agricultural play that may have to do with either fertilizer or pesticides or something like that.
NVIDIA, by the way, this is still kind of at the lows. Interesting to see this out of NVIDIA on its earnings week. Probably not terrible, to be quite honest with you. Mara ripping, that's going to be on the Bitcoin move. Market, the SPY came in a little bit. We talked about the Qs maybe curling. That is not an impressive curl at all, but it is holding in. So it's not breaking down further. That's at least something.
Wow, look at Mara go. Mara, let's look at CLSK. How's that one doing? That one's not up that much, interestingly. How's MSTR? That should be doing better.
Yeah, I was going to say all of those Bitcoin names were moving earlier.
Oh, God, I was going to say, if this news was today, I was like, they're raising more money?
This, I almost wonder, let's back out here. So this spot from the pre-market, I'm going to call this 127.5. Possible curl breakout spot for MSTR if it keeps rolling higher. XPON, that's one that we took a look at earlier. This is continuing to come in. That thing might be toast for today.
So we have New Zealand introducing an online safety bill to ban under 16 users from accessing social media. If that gains traction in other countries, then we can put together a list of social media companies that we would could set for a good short. I'm sure at the top of the list is going to be Meta. But I think that's something to watch for. What had a split? DODY, DODY, MSTU. Or that's the ETF though, isn't it? Yeah. That's moving that one today.
NVIDIA continues to cut. Anyone think this hits 200 before earnings?
Sure.
I mean, I think totally possible.
Sure. Yeah. Taiwan
way,
indicts NVIDIA manager following chip smuggling probe.
I was just noticing there are some coin call sweeps going off here. So, and also some MSTR call sweeps. So some of those Bitcoin names still getting traction in the options market there.
Yeah, we just had BTCT pop to 275. S. Testing that trend line again. Now, if we can hold above it, there could still be some more upside, but it's starting to look like volume's fading and it could get weaker.
All right, 13. We are out of time here today. Closing words for our group here today.
It's going to be a fun week, folks. It's packed with all kinds of stuff,
yeah.
including rocket launches. I can't wait. So I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll look at some more stuff. We'll have a good time trading. We'll find some winners like we always do, and we'll trade and we'll make some good money. Until then, folks, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff here today. Take care. We will see you later on. And folks, we're done here for today. But as we mentioned, big week this week. We'll be back at it again. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.